Hi, everybody. It's Gene Simmons, and you're not, and you're listening to the Potter Than Hell podcast with Steve, BC, BB, and Dylan. But you knew that, didn't you?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Potter Than Hell podcast. This is your last stop on the crazy train of hard rock and heavy metal. So sit back, buckle in, and hang on. Here we go.
Hey, Potter Than Hellions, welcome back to the Potter Than Hell podcast. This is Steve, your host. I'm joined as always by
BC.
And this week, no BB. He is his son's got an all-star game tonight, so he is not here this evening. On our keyboard player tonight is
Dylan.
And BB's sit-in tonight is Jim Polkowski.
Hello.
And welcome back, Jim.
Thank you for having me. I guess the hate mail ceased, so now you can bring me back.
As usual, what do we listen to? What do you listen to besides what we're talking about tonight, Jim? What do you got going?
I was just listening to Raven again on the way in. I love the new album, and I'm just waiting for the new one, the new one to come out in, I believe, sometime. He's talking spring, and he gave me a little taste of it when I saw them last year down in Allentown, and it's gonna kick ass. I can't wait to hear it.
That's cool. And Jim's got his supporting Raven shirt on this evening. Actually, rock until you drop. So
yep.
Cool.
I thought that was just an Edgar Allan Poe shirt.
Makes me sad.
No, I know. I know
how much
who
education
Raven
did it? You know what?
I do know who Raven is.
Send all your money back to Marywood College. They failed you.
No, they're really influential in a lot of bands like Anthrax. I
Absolutely.
know Scott Ian was a real big Raven fan.
Dylan got his music education at home.
That's good. That's good. Homeschooling is the best when it comes to that.
Absolutely. BC, how are you?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. I'm currently, right now, a Louis X double live acoustic album.
Lillian X.
Dylan.
I actually have been diving back into Dream Theater thanks to one of the albums we're going to be talking about tonight. God, they're just so good. Like every like album has something unique and different to look at, and it's really cool to see how they develop their sound over the years. But they started out pretty complex. Am I right, BC?
Yes.
But they just continued on that path, and it's worked really well for them.
Yeah, they're almost their own genre, I think, these guys. I mean, they're progressive and they're metal, but they're like
It's very...
like, I won't say above, I may say above everybody else, but they're just,
The Heirs to
I
Rush?
think, their own thing.
The Heirs to Rush, maybe? Because Rush...
Maybe like the metal version of Rush, maybe.
They're a heavier version of Rush. Yeah, that would be the closest band I would compare them to.
And like I've said before, James LaBrie, the most well-rested singer in rock and roll.
Well, I was watching the rehearsals for the drummers. It was The Spirit Carries On. It was a web series. And you just cut to James LaBrie, and he's staring intently at the drummer because he doesn't have anything to do during the instrumental
He's
breaks.
just going, what do I do now?
See,
kind of bad.
can I sit through a whole tour watching this guy from the side of the stage?
And he's the only person I've seen in real life like that like musician-wise, walking down the street in New York City. But he looked so intense, and it was raining, that I was afraid to stop him because I felt like he was gonna yell at me or something.
Couldn't he do like Ian McGillen used to do during all the big solos? Bring out the bongos and just...
Yeah, break out a tambourine.
There you go.
Then he'd have to get a percussion
Do a little Stevie Nicks action.
credit on
There
the
you go.
albums.
Just don't mic it if he's that bad. That's
Yeah.
all.
Freddie Mercury played the thimble for one song.
Then they paid a guy to hand it to him.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. How's it look at a resume? Former employment, thimble hander.
But it was a really nice thimble. It really was.
Yeah. I
dropped it that
have
one
been
time.
listening to, actually, I'm going to give a shout out to our friends at the Digital Kill the Radio Star podcast, David Hudson and Chris Craig. They did an episode with, Chris wasn't on this episode, they did an episode on the Rolling Stones' Exile on Main Street.
Oh, good album.
And I never really got into the Stones. Like, I'm the hits guy, like the Who, like the Who and shit, bands like that. But I'll tell you what, I listened to this album like all the way through. It's and they talked about on the album how if you took certain songs and just listened to them alone, they're like But if you listen to them in the context of listening to the whole album, it kind of has a good flow to it. And I totally agree with it. I thought it was good. It was different from what I'm used to listening to. And there's like all different kinds of styles of music on. There's like country shit and
Is that the
ballads
first album
and rock and stuff.
With Mick Taylor? Or Mick
I believe so.
Yeah, that is a slamming album.
I really like it. It came out in 1972.
What are some of the tracks on there?
Rock Soft, Rip This Joint, Shake Your Hips, Casino Boogie, Torn and Frayed,
Yeah.
Loving Cup.
Loving Cup, Soul Survivor, Let It
Actually,
Loose.
I think Loving Cup, Jack White joins them on stage during Shine a Light.
Oh, yeah?
Their concert film directed by Marty Scorsese.
Cool.
Yeah.
That and one of the recommendation that Chris Craig gave us on the episode that those guys were on, Death Heaven, their album came out this week, and Dylan and I were listening to it a little bit. It's called Ordinary Corrupt Human Love. I'm sorry. It's different. It's like I kind of looked at it like instrumental, but there's like you know how the guy from Cannibal Corpse sings like that. There's like that kind of lyrics, like kind of they're not out front. They're kind of underneath the music. Wouldn't you say, Dylan? It's not like out front.
It's almost like, to make a comparison, like the part in No More Tears, which I just listened to in the car, where it's the going forward, and it's like that low, but like even
a little lower.
that.
I think even a little lower than that.
Where it's not like out front, but the instruments are like
the music's good, but it's like I don't know, like cinematic maybe. It just has this. It's so different. Like the first time you heard Ghost, you're like, wow, these guys are different. And you hear this band, you're like, wow, these guys are really different.
But Ghost, to me, is a much better live act. They haven't captured it on vinyl yet. The new album is pretty damn close.
The last two were good.
Live, I don't know, maybe because it's the whole visual of everything going on with them. You get it. And you hear the album, it's kind of like, it's not quite, but...
It translates great live.
Yeah, they're one of those bands that, like, I think are just a phenomenal live act. And they haven't found it yet on vinyl, and I hope they haven't peaked. I like the new album a lot. I think Rats is a killer too.
But there's one too many instrumentals on the new album.
Well, I think they're trying to be, again, cinematic, you said, in more of a concept and a theme, and so maybe
it's pretty good though.
I like it. To see it live would be something, but I'm not going to be able to make it to the Kirby show.
I do like how you said they did capture it on vinyl.
No,
see that?
No. Because what else is there?
Yeah, so that's what we got going new here. Jim's listening to Raisin BC's Raven, not Raisin. The California Raisins. You heard it through the grapevine.
There you go.
boy.
BC, what do you listen to again, BC?
Louie Nex.
Louie Nex, I'm sorry.
Dream Theater.
Dream Theater for
Jesus.
Dylan. I'm like losing
Sketch
my mind
right
already.
out.
We're only like 5 minutes in.
Yeah,
and
we're not even.
Stones and Death Heaven for me. So
I've been listening to a lot of Maiden bootlegs from the new tour. Can't wait for next year. I'll just leave it there.
Let me tell you, that set list is pretty kick-ass. Like, I was really excited to see some of the songs they were
We're just hoping that they don't.
I would tweak it a little bit.
Please say you're not going to put Rat Child in there.
No.
Thank you. Because that's everybody's waiting for that 2 minutes to midnight to be dropped, and they're going to put Rat Child
They're
in there.
playing some Blaze songs. It's
I
pretty
know.
awesome.
No, that's...
Oh, you know what I wish they would do? And I know we're going off kilter here. I would love to see them go back to Sanctuary, Drifter, and the set with the way they used to in
That'd be
82.
cool.
That would be phenomenal for me.
That would be cool.
Drifter was awesome. They played Drifter at the show we saw in Allentown in 83.
Yep. What date? Come on.
August 10th.
Nope.
August 13th.
Nope.
August what?
18th.
18th.
My birthday.
Surprised you got the month.
I did get the month. I don't know.
That's why I had to bust your chops on that one.
Hey, I was in the same week at least.
I don't
There
think
you
I
go.
like.
Hey,
I don't
you're in
think
the same venue. I'm thrilled.
concerts last year. I don't
That's true.
think I could called a month.
Yeah. All right. Whatever else we got going on, that's what we're listening to. Besides the ton of stuff that we had to listen to this week.
Yeah, that was a lot.
And I forgot to mention on the last couple shows, my wife and I went to see the Steve Miller Band and Peter Frampton up at Bethel Woods in New York. It's like almost a month ago by now. Really good show. Peter Frampton friggin' just tore it up. And when they started playing, when the drums started for I'll Give You Money, I turned, I said to my wife, I said, this is going to be the best song of the night that you're going to hear from either fucking band.
Yeah.
And he always does an extended version, guitar back and forth with his other guitar player. Absolutely amazing. It was probably a 15-minute song, and I absolutely went out of my mind. It was so good. And, of course, you have
The other guy.
Show Me the Way, and then they do You Feel Like We Do, which is an excellent version also. Steve Miller Band came out. They were really good. That's the first I've ever seen the Steve Miller Band. I've never seen them live before. Hey, the dude's I think he's 70.
Yeah, and he, if I'm not mistaken, Les Paul gave him lessons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was very close to him, if I understand correctly, and he used to try to emulate him and like the tucks and times and things like that. But Peter Frampton, I remember seeing him at the CYC in 1979.
Wow.
I remember that show.
Fantastic
Friends of mine
show.
went to that show.
Fantastic show. Great album if you ever get a chance. Back Where I Should Be. It's a really good studio album that he was touring behind.
I'll have to check it out. Absolutely. Steve Miller had this cool guitar. It was like I don't know if it was a 12-string guitar, but it had this little harpsichord thing on it. And he played this, I forget the name of the song, and it was like Mountain, something with a mountain in it. Mountain Home or something, Mountain.
Mountain Dew.
But there was it was like, be playing, it'd be like, "Bring," like really cool sounding thing. I've never seen that before. It's like a little harpsichord on the guitar, and he would just like stroke it with his thumb, and it would just be like, "Ring." But very cool though. So if the tour's coming near you, I think it's going throughout the summer, so definitely check it out. You're not there, banging your head and rocking out, but it's two great bands playing great songs. Very cool. And if you live in the area we live, we're in northeastern Pennsylvania, and you get a chance to see a show at Bethel Woods, it is probably, in my opinion, the best outdoor venue that's within decent driving distance from us.
Was it Wild Mountain Honey?
Wild Mountain Honey, that was the name of the song. Yeah.
Oh, and he did Space Cowboy too.
Oh yeah, the set list was great. That's
cool.
Did you do Freebird?
Yeah, he did actually.
I would have yelled.
There's always got to be that guy.
I didn't know
That's
Jet
me, and
Airliner.
that's usually me at every show, and I always got a good response.
I didn't know Jet Airliner was a cover.
Is it?
It's a Paul Pena song, apparently,
Oh yeah.
according to Set
Whoever
List
that
Top
is.
10.
You know it.
Yeah.
He used to be my neighbor. Good morning.
Yeah.
Oh, and Frampton played 2 songs with him?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I forgot about that. He came out and played 2 songs.
That's cool.
Yeah. It was cool.
Well, a friend of mine saw Frampton about 4 or 5 years ago down in Allentown, and Vinnie Moore got up on stage and jammed with him a couple of songs. He said he was never heard of Vinnie Moore before then. He said, "Wow, he liked him."
That's cool.
Really.
Yeah.
That's cool. UFO guitar player. All right. Red Dragon Cartel's got a new album coming out. Excellent. I thought the first debut album was great. He's had a ton of different guys in and out of the band, and apparently it's the guy that was singing originally is back singing again now.
You got a different drummer. What's his name? Phil Verone.
Phil Verone's the drummer now. That's gonna be. I can't wait to. He's gonna definitely put a good dynamic in there. He's a.
Who's playing
for
bass?
the 5 weeks he's in the band.
Who's playing bass this time? Because I remember he had Badlands bass player when we saw him. And do you know why he didn't do the whole tour?
Lizzy Borden? Not Lizzy. Lynch Mob. I'm sorry.
Lizzy Borden.
Lizzy Borden is always on
Lizzy Borden playing bass.
Play bass, baby.
He's gonna should have whacked that bass.
What
80
the hell is his
times.
name? Help me out. The original Lynch Mob.
I just read it today and I can't remember.
can't think of his name.
But anyhow, the original bass player from Badlands was with him. He said only until softball season started. Then he went back coaching his daughter's softball team.
I'm out.
Anthony Esposito.
Anthony
Thank you.
Esposito, yeah.
And you have Darren James Smith singing.
And that's the
The original guy, yeah.
Yep.
It was actually a
back.
drummer before he started even singing, which
never
is
sang
which is
till
weird.
he-
He never sang.
Never sang until he joined.
Well, that was a good show.
So it's gonna be
Patrick
interesting to
Stump and
see
Fall Out Boy.
what that album is. That'll be the sophomore challenge. It's called Patina. It's gonna be out on November 8th, and KK Downing's book is coming out September 18th. It's called Heavy Duty Days and Nights and Judas Priest, which is gonna. I think it's gonna be a very, very interesting book to read.
Yeah.
And
We'll see how much
it
he
doesn't
pulls back.
seem. Yeah, he says he doesn't, but a lot of guys always say that they don't either, but they do.
That's literally the way to promote your autobiography is, I don't pull any punches. These people are getting eviscerated. And it's like, yeah, they're great people. I really love working with them.
Yeah.
Good to the children.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. Even on the back sleeve, I guess it says something about how that.
He's upset that he didn't get asked to replace Glenn.
Well, that's not on the back cover, but he does bring that up, and but he said he's happy for them that they're doing good and everything. But it says that they kind of had some sort of like identity crisis, like they didn't know really how to look, how to be, because like if you look at the early stuff in the '70s, they're all dressed like like they're in the Hendrix Experience or something.
The satins
You know, and then all of a sudden,
yeah.
bang! It's
the leather
and studs. Like they almost like flipped the switch and it was from one thing to the other. So it's going to be interesting to just see how that evolved. And I mean, I'm sure to us it seems like it happened overnight, but I'm sure it was something that just kind of evolved as they went along. And one more quick item here: the Eddie Van Halen guitars. Dylan, tell us about that.
So Eddie Van Halen's coming out with 3 different editions of the what he's calling the 78 Eruption guitar. It's the guitar that you see on the cover of the initial debut album of Van Halen, the black striped white guitar. There are 3 different versions. The most expensive version, and this price isn't confirmed, I saw this on a forum post, is $25,000. It's for the Super 78, and Eddie Van Halen apparently plays Eruption on the guitar, and he signs the back of the headstock, and it's filmed and placed on a thumb drive inside the thing, so that
He doesn't come to your house and deliver it to you?
No,
like
it's not it's not the Eddie Van Halen experience.
Gene
It's-
comes to your house at least,
Yeah, Gene does, yeah.
and there's only
and he brought Ace to that one.
There you go.
There's only apparently 8 of these guitars being sold.
Really? You can't afford more than 8 there, Eddie? Come on.
But you don't just get the guitar, you get...
But wait, there's more.
Yep. You get an autographed Van Halen vinyl. You get a rare original Looney Tunes Merry Melodies Van Halen vinyl. A custom-made period-correct G&G case with torn or tour-worn outer treatment and distressed latches. You get the exclusive collector's booklet, the 78 chain strap, 3-in-1 oil in its period-correct can. That's very important. Signed certificate of authenticity, 2 packs of 70-era strings, tortoiseshell picks, a backstage vinyl cloth sticker on the case, plus 1 unused sticker inside, and a signed concert photo of Eddie Van Halen. So that's for the most expensive.
So the tour worn case, they probably get these cases
And they just smash them against the
Well, they
wall.
probably
They
just,
have the gorilla from
they-
the suitcase commercial take them on.
they give them to an airline and let them transport them for a week because they throw how they throw your shit all around. That's probably how
If they did it, you wouldn't get them
they do
back.
it.
They go up to the top of a mountain and just toss them over. Tour
They do like the old Samsonite commercials. What they
Yeah.
throw in with the gorilla.
Yep.
Smashes the shit out of it.
Yeah, so the lesser two, they're 12,500 and 7,878 and 78 cents. Yeah, so
Interesting.
you want to
So if
spend
you're in the
$7
market
grand,
for,
But if you want to get 2 for just pay extra shipping and handling,
but only the 8 are played by Eddie Van Halen. The $25,000 ones are the ones that are played by the man himself. So he couldn't play 78 guitars.
And if you order in the next 10 minutes,
set of knives with the Ginsu handle.
We'll send you a picture of Eddie giving you a thumbs up.
this week we decided we were talking about it.
Well, hold on a second.
Oh,
We
I'm
have
sorry.
one more piece of news.
Oh, okay. We do actually.
We here at the Hotter Than Hell podcast are honored to be nominated for the 2018 Steamtown Music Awards. We were nominated for Best Podcast / Online Show, along with a bunch of other esteemed podcasts and shows. It's really exciting to be nominated, but we want to win, so it's up to you guys to help us out. There's voting right now happening on Facebook. We have the poll posted right at the top of our page, so just go to Potter Than Hell on Facebook and vote for us because
Vote early
we want,
and vote often.
We want to give metal to the children, and winning this award will
help the children.
help the children out and show your support of your favorite podcast. Give us a vote.
Absolutely. We appreciate you guys voting for us to get nominated. We had to have votes to get nominated. And
Now we need more votes.
Yeah. I want to, thank everybody that voted for that, and I want to thank everybody that's already voted.
Yeah, we've had a
And
huge.
We have,
turnout.
and we're doing good now. We want to keep that rolling, and share it with your friends. Tell them about it. Tell them to give us a listen. It's a fun podcast. We have a friggin' blast doing it. We keep people in jobs at the Corona Light Factory.
Yeah.
And
And the Mountain Dew factory.
and the Mountain Dew, absolutely. And we have a great time doing it. We hope you guys enjoy listening it, and share it with your friends. Let them know what a good time it is, and we appreciate your guys' support.
I want to thank my mother.
Yeah, thank the people.
Thank the people. Thank everybody out there for listening. I mean, hey, You believe in, just remember, there's children out there that need your help.
Yep.
Gojos has nothing.
If you call toll free,
Go, Joe.
we'll give you the PBS tote bag filled with nifty gifties.
Will you play the guitar and then send it to your fans?
I will
BC
try.
will attempt to play Eruption.
I will attempt to
Failed
play
miserably.
Eruption for you inside the back of a guitar.
Whatever strings he breaks, they're staying on there.
There you go.
Yeah,
You got to
they're
change
yours to
music.
keep.
They'll be broke by me.
All right, so you guys, we definitely appreciate your help, and hopefully you can. Anyone else out there that hasn't voted, please vote for us and
And if you
share it.
voted, share the page.
Absolutely, and we appreciate it.
sure you
All right,
vote.
couple months ago, I come up with this idea for the show, and we wanted to have Jim on it, and schedules didn't work, so we worked out where we can get Jim on the show, and BB, he texted me today. He was like, because I always do a group text about the show with everybody that's going to be on the episode, like a week in advance, so we go back and forth with ideas or whatever we're doing, get everybody's lists and everything. And BB's like, I really, all this back and forth about all these albums, I really want to get in on it. And what I initially had everyone do, by the way, we're doing, there's always talk out there about live albums. Kiss Alive 2, Peter Frampton Comes Alive, or
Kiss Alive 3, Kiss Alive Symphony.
yeah, all these double live albums. Ted Nugent double live Gonzo. So I figured you don't hear as much about single album live albums. So I thought it would be kind of cool to pick ones and talk about them. And initially, I had all of us picking 5, and then it was just yesterday. I was like out of my mind listening to, I had to listen to 20 different live albums in like a week, and it is possible to do that.
All at once.
Yeah, but I got to the point where I was like, there's no way in hell we're going to be able to talk about like 20 albums and all the songs, and that's at least say 15 songs, and so you're talking over 100 songs you're going to talk about, and the albums when they were recorded and where they were recorded, and talk about all the different songs. We don't have to talk about all the songs, but I felt that was just going to be like a crazy amount of stuff to talk about. We like to keep the show, under 6 hours per episode.
What could have been the director's cut?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Director's
we're just
cut.
we're gonna
That would
do
have
3
killed me.
apiece, and with that being said, we can make this a series, because I looked up. I have like a page and a half of albums that are single live albums, and we could definitely do a couple versions of this thing. So BB, we'll get you in on the next one.
Jump on the train later.
Yeah. So here's what we'll do. We'll do everyone name their album. We'll talk about it. You can name songs on it. We could pick key songs. Whatever you guys want to talk about it. Who wants to go first? Dylan.
You've been nominated.
Okay.
You've been nominated.
Well, let me first start off by saying every single album that I originally picked, I would later learn that it's not technically a single album. Like I wanted to talk about Fistful of Alice from Alice Cooper. It was a double album. I wanted to talk about Volbeat, live from Above Heaven, Beyond Hell, or Beyond Hell Above. I always confuse that title. It was a double album. I wanted to talk about Kings Among Scotland from Anthrax. It was a double album. So I finally got a list of actual single live albums that I'm really proud of. And the first one that I want to focus on, I think, is one that we've talked about before. I still think it's an amazing album. I think one of the best from a band that strives and succeeds at making really great live albums. We're going to talk about Kiss Unplugged. Technically a live album in front of a live audience. Kiss is doing some things that they've never done before. Usually they're all about the bombastic stage show, the lights, the colors, the spitting fire, the flying through the audience. But this time they're stripped down, sans makeup. I mean, they've been sans makeup for a while, but they're just sitting in an intimate audience. This cool stage where like the Rock and Roll Over poster or cover is on the ground that they're playing on, and they're playing really cool, awesome versions of these songs. And I think some of the definitive versions of the songs, personally, but that could be up for debate. They originally recorded it August 9th, 1995 for MTV's Unplugged, sadly a show that no longer, I don't think, exists.
MTV really no longer exists.
Yeah. I could have really picked a couple of MTV Unplugged albums for this. The Alice in Chains one is phenomenal. I personally really love the Nirvana one, but I know some people here at the table don't like Nirvana. But
No.
The Kiss.
Don't get me started.
The Kiss Unplugged album, I think, is
Overrated.
a classic.
Big time.
With the Kiss one?
No, Nirvana. You brought him up.
You brought him up. We'll take him down, brother.
Fast forward. 3
But
seconds.
this album is just amazing. It has the reunion of the original members. It has a showcasing of one of the current members, Eric Singer. But Bruce Kulick's playing on this is just phenomenal. I think Gene and Paul's vocals on this are at their best.
Definitely Paul's.
Paul's like sounding phenomenal on this album. And I think the production of it is just really crisp and clear. You can hear the great twang of the acoustic guitars. You can hear the crowd getting excited, especially during like Nothing to Lose. You can really hear the crowd behind them, and like there's a cool version of Rock and Roll Night where Ace gets to sing and Peter gets to sing. It feels like the band actually likes each other for once. Like they're friendly, they're feeling good about each other, and it's just a great album.
I agree. I mean, when this first came out, it's like, Unplugged, and I think back then it was kind of a new thing, and I totally got hooked on acoustic music. I mean, Steve's not really too.
Depends on the album.
You're growing, but this came out very good. Like everything you said, I think Paul's vocals are the highlight of the career. I mean, and every song they do, I mean, it just really comes over good acoustic. I mean, I could do without Beth and Rock and Roll Night again, but that's just because you hear those songs so much.
Yeah.
Play to death.
I mean, A World Without Heroes, never really a great song one of my favorites, but when they did it there, I was like, wow, just a lot of songs on here really giving new life to them.
Absolutely.
I remember when that came out, the excitement. Oh, look, the reunion, and they did it really cool. The acoustic stuff, and they really used the unplugged format to its fullest potential.
Yeah.
Gave you a new look at old songs that been played forever, and to hear them a different way. And a good song is a good song, and it can go from electric to acoustic and vice versa.
Yeah.
And Paul, you're right, sounded fantastic on it. He probably had enough rest, so his voice wasn't stressed and strained, and it is a very good album.
I love it. I know we talked about this on a previous episode, but just to go back to it, it's been I probably listened to this Kiss Unplugged probably maybe 100 times more, not 100 actual times, but like that much more than I've listened to Kiss Alive or Kiss Alive 2 lately. And it's so good. It is like, after hearing songs like Coming Home, Plaster Caster, Going Blind, like I don't want to hear them on the studio albums really anymore. If they're in a playlist and they come on, fine. But like if they come on a playlist that I have going and the acoustic version comes up, like, ooh, all right. I love their like Gene and Paul's vocals are so good on that. And actually today I was out for my daily walk with my wife, and I had my headphones on, and Plaster Caster came on acoustic, and I was like, this is freaking great. I absolutely love this version. I could live without See You Tonight. I think they could have did something different. There are a couple songs they could have did different. One thing that I think it was missing on a Kiss box set, they put a version of that they did like 20 some songs on this show, but they only did enough to put out like a single album when it came out. But Got to Choose they did it on there, and they put it out on the Kiss box set. Just one of my favorite Kiss songs, and it is cool to hear them all sing on Rock and Roll Night. Nothing to Lose is really good. 2000 Man is phenomenal. Yeah, it's just a solid album all around. And I'll reiterate what these guys said. Paul's vocals are, I don't know if they've been better at any time.
Yeah, I think the thing I really love about this album is that it sounds real. Like you feel the intimacy. The crowd sounds like realistic and not like the Alive 2 crowd that sounds kind of piped in at times. Very much piped in at times for the most of the album, for the whole album, except for the studio tracks that they recorded. But the definitive version on this album, Plaster Caster, I think it's the definitive version. To me, I really love this version of Nothing to Lose. I like it even more than the studio version. That might be blasphemy.
Sing it for the cat, man.
If they did the piano, this would by all means be the definitive version. But that piano is just so good.
That would be cool if they did that just for that song.
Well, in the rehearsal, somebody did do the piano, but I don't know why they didn't do that on stage. It's very strange.
I don't know. And if you watch the video for that, I think it's on the Second Coming video actually. Peter brings in some kind of box.
Oh yeah, it's a
musical box or something, and he tries to do Beth on, like trying to show that he's this artist or drum guru now or something. It's really stupid. Sorry, Peter.
It's really stupid.
God forbid we could go an episode without ripping on Peter.
He's got to be black and blue all the time. He always gets beat up. He always gets beat up. I like Sure Know Something.
Yeah, that's
it. Is
really cool
there's nothing I like I think Jim said it gives these songs new life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes at the time those guys, they were around for.
Think about it. They're in the middle of the grunge. Grunge was exploding, and here comes these 70s glam rockers that is like poo-poo by all these kids in their flannel, and they stole it.
Yeah.
Yep, they definitely kicked ass. All right, cool. Good job. BC, what's your first pick there, pal?
Let's go with
Why is everyone so down on pal?
Well, because it's a European format.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. You can
I got that one. I got that
one. My pick is going to be Wasp, Live in the Raw, which came out back in November of '87 with I don't know what you classify these guys at. I mean, back then they were just almost borderline shock back then.
Yeah, like shock rock.
They would come out and throw meat at people when they first came out with the first album, and the second album, and the saw blades and fire and torturing women. It's okay.
Sounds like a good time.
Tying up women and the blood and everything. So of course, when they came out with the live album, everybody's like, "Ooh, live album!" Of course, let's go get it. Even though if it was released today, it'd be like CD and DVD. But
I know
back then. But I mean, overall, I think it's a great combination of all their albums that came out. It was recorded in Long Beach Arena, March 10th of
Final show of the tour.
They have returned.
Yeah.
Welcome. And they start off with the Inside the Electric Circus and I Don't Need No Doctor, which I never liked that song till this.
Really?
Yeah,
You call yourself an American?
Yeah.
Love Humble Pie's version. I love Wasp's version of it too, but love Humble Pie.
I never.
It's okay.
But
Nobody's perfect.
Love Machine. And they go into a little Wild Child, which is a trademark song of theirs, 95 Nasty. Sleeping in the Fire, which this is a good version, but not as good as.
Oh, no, definitely not.
The Manimal, which is off a great album. I Want to Be Somebody, another trademark. Harder, Faster, which is their song about the PRMC back in the day.
Right.
Declaring them sexual.
It wasn't on an album.
It was not on an album.
for this.
Because they were labeled sexual perverts, whatever that means.
It's a way of life, brother.
I don't think they ever disputed it.
No.
Hey.
Well, that's what the SP stands for. Wasp.
We are sexual
We are
perverts.
And Blinded Texas, and that was they closed off the show with the Blinded, not the show, but the album, live album, Blinded Texas, and then they threw in a studio track at the very end of it, Scream Till You Like It, which was off the movie The Goonies.
It wasn't in the
Ghoulies 2. Ghoulies.
It wasn't in the Goonies.
Ghoulies 2.
You're thinking Cyndi Lauper. The Goonies Are Good Enough, which is a great song.
I don't think BC's thinking Cyndi Lauper.
I think he is, but we don't want to go into his fantasies.
Wasp.
Well, I remember that album well, and you know what? I haven't listened to it. I think me and the neighbors are going to listen to it tomorrow. It is a great album. I remember reading an interview with Blackie. He was talking about, again, like you said, the raw meat, the girl on stage, the whole 9 yards, and he got out of that. You know, he got religious, and he's doing his own thing. And he said he saw a video that they did at the Lyceum in ¡84. And he's like, oh my God, now I see what everybody was going ape shit about. What the hell were we thinking? But that is a great album. They were a great band at that time. I wish they did a live album behind the Headless Children because I love that album. But this was a really, really, really good album. All you kiddies out there, go get it.
Yeah, I remember when this came out. Myself and Rob, that's been on the show many times. We were huge Wasp fans. We had all the albums when they came out, and this came out, and we were always live music guys. We always loved the live records came out. But I tell you what, we were hungry for live albums. When anything came out live, we were right on it.
There was no internet back then.
No.
You just did get on YouTube and see a concert. You can look up any show nowadays.
Yeah,
and
you got your music news from Hit Parade or Kerrang and Circus.
And the only thing you
see
saw
the ad
live
for it,
was
it's coming out. That's the only way you really knew when something was coming out. Or if you seen a poster in a record store, an actual record store,
Or they wrote down coming soon on all the dates of the releases.
Yep.
I remember being
But
a
I just-
listening booth
Yeah.
every Friday going through the stalls.
just checking that shit out. We loved it. We always loved Blind in Texas. And BC had said before, Sleeping in the Fire is great on this. BC and I saw Wasp in the 90s back at a venue near us, a bar called Tinks, and Wasp played there. And it was when Chris Holmes came back to the band. He was out for a while, and he came back.
Came back for a little bit.
And they played there. BC and I, we partied hard, like for hours and hours before the show. And we remember when we just kind of looked at each other when Chris Holmes did the solo in this song. We were like, holy fuck.
A little extended.
He extended to probably, maybe he made the song around 8 minutes or so. But I don't know about you, BC, but every time I hear that song, I always think back to that show because that's so embedded in my mind. And it's a great album. I'm glad you picked it. Love it.
Yeah, I think Chris Holmes, you mentioned him. He really shines on this album. The solos in this are phenomenal. I think it's really a driving album. They really don't slow it down for too long. They keep it going. They keep the energy up. I think it's cool that it was Steve Riley's last album
Before he left for LA Guns.
LA Guns. That's really awesome. I love the version of Wild Child on here. I think that's probably might be one of my favorite Wasp songs. But it's an album that if I was, because I'm not the biggest Wasp fan, I like them, but Blackie's vocals sometimes get to me. This album makes me almost regret comments I've made on Wasp in the past.
He's solid vocals.
He is really good on this album, and there's an energy to these songs that
Because they got the great Johnny Rod.
I was just gonna say we didn't mention Johnny Rod on
Johnny Rod.
And
Is that his real name?
I don't think so.
And actually,
it's John Tuminello.
We'll go with Rod. It's easier to spell.
Rod's easier. Sounds more rock and roll too. But actually, I don't know if it was after this. He was a paramedic.
He's a paramedic in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So great
Instead
album.
of
Could you imagine him and David Lee Roth riding in the same ambulance?
instead of Blind in Texas, it's paramedic in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh.
All right, good pick, BC. Good start, Jim. What's your first pick tonight?
Well, I had to go old school. I'm sure when you saw the list, you said, "Yeah, I figured these are all going to be on there."
Yeah, you threw me for a loop with one of them, but we'll save that for the next version.
Yeah, but I will go in alphabetical order. We'll start with probably one of the greatest live albums ever recorded, AC/DC, If You Want Blood, You Got It. Recorded on April 30th, 1978 at the Glasgow Apollo, which from all I've heard was probably one of the greatest venues ever. And what was unique about it, the stage was, I believe, 11 and a half feet high. So if you imagine a band on a stage like here, and so the first row was probably really about 10, 12 feet back. Yeah. And the reason the stage, I'm told, was so high was to protect the band from the audience, because if you sucked, they would take it out on you.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And so, and
Play good or die.
Yeah, pretty much. And people have talked about being in that place, and it had, I believe, 2 or 3 balconies, and the balconies would shake with the band actually up and down, and plaster falling from the ceiling. They said it was an incredible place to see a show. I mean, the album opens with Riff Raff. I believe you were saying you prefer that to Livewire as an opener.
I think so.
Okay. I wanted to talk to you one thing. I don't know whether you realized Livewire, the way it was a sound check song.
Oh, okay.
You listen to it, starts out with the bass and Malcolm on rhythm, and they get that in, and then they get Phil in with the drums, and then everybody. So they're opening up for all these people. They get a sound check before anybody knows it, and they just tore the place apart. Riff Raff is kind of the same way too. Angus starts out slow, and then everybody's just grinding away, get the levels straight, and then Phil counts them in 1, 2, 3, bam, bam, bam. It's just a great album. And there's only 2 songs that they played that night that are not on that album. Dog Eat Dog and Fling Thing. So they only did like a 65-minute set, but what a 65-minute set it was. Like I said, Riff Raff, Problem Child, Ain't a Bad Place to Be, their hit single, Rock and Roll Damnation. Of course, Let There Be Rock, Whole Lotta Rosie. I mean, there's not a
bad song.
No, there is not. It is truly one of the greatest albums. And the cover was shot in Boston on August 21st after a show. Because I remember seeing somebody had online the letter out to the road crew, wear something it's gonna get bloody, wear something that you're not afraid to get dirty. And that's another thing. I remember seeing the cover, and not so much the front cover of Bond reaching around Angus and impaling him with the guitar, but just Angus laying on the back with the guitar up to his back. And not that. The drums, how cool they looked with the bottles of rum and Coke, everything on the drum riser. It's like, fuck, that's what I want. I love that album.
I was glad you picked that one. I kind of figured you would. Not kind of figured. I knew you would pick that one.
Right.
So because there's certain albums that I figured Jim would pick. I was only right on 1 or 2 of BC's. Dylan's, then.
I like to throw you for a loop.
Well, there was one on Dylan's I knew he was definitely going to pick. But this album, I've always loved this album. I think Riff Raff is just a freaking phenomenal opening song.
Love that song.
And there's a AC/DC tribute band around us that plays. They're called Halfway to Hell, and they do a phenomenal version of this song. I think Jim disagrees apparently. You don't like them?
I heard them once, and I was just cringing at the vocals the whole time. I just thought he was like, you're screaming and you're not singing.
Really?
That's
Where'd you see that?
107 birthday party opening for.
Oh, you can't go by. You can't go by at the Woodlands.
Yeah,
seriously,
that's why.
Go see them in a club. We just saw them.
That's why
a couple months ago at Tomatoes.
And I was saying, was it a bad night? Whatever. And
it's
plus,
a bad venue. That's a horrible place.
Oh, I hate
to
it.
Show.
But like somebody said to me, you are such a diehard fan that if they're off like half a pitch on something, you're going to jump down their throat. And that's just
no. You don't go by that show. Seriously.
Oh, I won't. Trust me. I hope our paths cross again, and I can get proven that was a bad night for me.
And I think there's just classic songs in here. I really love "Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be," and one of my favorite AC/DC songs is "Rock and Roll Damnation." Absolutely love that song, and they just absolutely kill it on here. Like we said, there's not a bad song unless
that was
there's
their
nothing
attempt
you can
at
say
a
bad.
hit single. They were sent back in the studio.
Oh, really?
The record company wanted a hit, and because that wasn't released on the English or I believe the Australian pressing of that album. A different song called Cold Hearted Man is on Power Age in its place. And the studio said, we don't hear a hit. So they gave them, we'll give you something with maracas, and Rock and Roll Damnation was it. Both chords, there it is.
Good pick. Excellent versions of the classic songs, Let There Be Rock, High Voltage, Whole Lotta Rosie. This is such a high energy album. There's no coming up for air. There's no breather. You're just bang, 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 and you're just pummeled by the end of this album, which is absolutely one of my favorite things.
I remember hearing an interview with Eddie Van Halen saying, I gotta follow these guys. Could you imagine what it was like following these guys when they were that hungry, 78, 79? Oh my God. Well, I did see him in 78 opening for Rainbow, so I kind of got an idea, but still. It's
awesome.
Yeah. I was originally, when I was much younger, scared to death by that cover album. I was like, oh my God, they're killing people with this album. Oh God. Once I got past that initial fear, I listened to this album and I was just blown away by the versions of these songs, because at that point I was so ingrained into the Brian Johnson era AC/DC, because like you would always hear Money Talks on the radio, and you would hear, you know,
oh my God,
Shoot the Thrill and Thunderstruck, and I was just like, okay. And then like you listen to a completely different band on this album. Like,
but you notice there never was the Bon or Brian debate that you had with the Sammy or Dave.
No, there wasn't.
There never was.
I mean, honestly,
because they're both good.
This is true. Sorry,
true.
Ken.
But like Bond sounds so good on this, and like he like even on the albums, he has this like way of bringing you in and like making like any virgins in Glasgow tonight during the Jack, like just throws that in there in the middle of the lyric, and like he makes you feel like you're at an intimate venue with him. Like I would never have pictured an 11-foot stage and he's up there.
Yeah,
I picture him like in a bar, like right in front of me.
Yeah, the venue, and sadly they tore it down to put up a movie complex.
Nice. But like the versions on these are so good. I love how they end with Rocker, because like that's such a strong way to end an album, like which is just this straightforward, just punch you in the face.
That's one of my favorite tunes.
It's so good, and like I was always weirded out that wasn't a popular AC/DC song like that you play on the radio a lot. Like you would just hear the bagpipes of "Long Way to the Top."
Back in the day, you rarely heard AC/DC on the radio, except for TNT, and then Back in Black. Well, Highway to Hell, TNT, and then Back in Black came out, and then they opened up. Well, we'll play a little bit more of these guys. The radio has never really been into AC/DC or bands like it. That's what pisses me off a bit about 107. They talk about all the songs. You never played these songs when they were out in the day. Why are you playing them now?
It's like Rolling Stone with Led Zeppelin.
That's better than not playing them at all, though.
I haven't listened to radio in years, but you are correct.
Like Rolling Stone hated Led Zeppelin when they were coming out with the albums. They're like, "Oh, this is trash. Like they're never going to go anywhere." And now, looking back, they're like, "We were."
Zeppelin was bigger in the States than they were in Europe.
I mean, I put it this way: if you hear AC/DC on the radio, if you hear Dirty Deeds or TNT, okay, you've heard them a ton of times, but sorry, Peter, you're not hearing Beth.
6 billion times.
You know what I mean? I like that difference, that it's like they don't have any hits that are like crappy songs like that.
Yeah, I agree. They have some. I think,
in my opinion,
Money
do
Talks.
AC/DC.
Yeah.
Money Talks.
You literally talk about how much you hate this song every time we talk about AC/DC.
No, I know it's played to death. It's a good song, but it's played.
Which one?
It's played. You shook me all night long. Played to death. I would be happy if
You know they even dropped that from the set for years.
Good.
I did too, and then when they finally brought it back, they decided, all right, fuck it, we'll play it first song, get it over with, and then for
Good.
Stiff Upper Lip tour.
But there was a time where I thought that song was good. There was never a time when I thought that Beth was good.
I'm sure as a young child you were singing along in the mirror just like everybody
Do you
else.
think he was playing air piano?
I was not.
He had
Ray
the-
Charles there.
I was not. That was Steve running to the record player, moving the needle.
Just like any copy,
Pick up,
like
put
if
down.
you listen to my copy of Live Bootleg, Dream On is in mint condition because I never fucking played that song on that album.
Amen. Amen.
There's no
Jim
scratches.
was not singing for the laugh.
No
He was
scratching
not
on
singing
that
for the
section.
tears.
Yeah. I thought he was singing about his face clearing up. Who gives a fuck about his acne?
All right, BC, what do you think?
Back in the day when this came out, and I don't even know who the kid was. It was recess time. You're all, talking with your friends and people in school, and this one kid was always about this album. So did he get it? Of course, like you said, it's not a bad song on here. Hell in a Bad Place to Be. You can't beat that song to me. Let There Be Rock, and they're a classic. And of course, every time I hear the Jack, go back to Irv's strip club that night.
Yeah.
For some
Told
reason.
that story before.
Oh, yeah.
No matter how many times I hear that song, it takes me right back to that.
See,
But did she have the jack?
Show the
Did she give you the jack?
She had more than the Jack.
Oh, she had a bread
I
thingy
always like
going.
the card lyrics more than the lyrics that are on this one. I don't know. That's just me.
Well, because it's different and it's clever and
Yeah.
what he's singing.
Like I love, but how was I to know that she'd been dealt with before? Like that's such a clever line.
Well, they did do it live like that for a while because I have a show from the Waldorf in September of '77 where he uses those lyrics, and there's a couple of songs off of Power Age on that they played on that night, and it's a good sounding show.
It's got
Cool.
the wordplay of like big balls.
Yeah. But I mean,
That's
ACD's classic, so how can you? And to me, that album is a
Yeah.
classic live album.
Give it to us, BC.
ACDC.
There you go. All right. The first album I picked is albums from 1995. I've talked about these guys a bunch of times, and they're definitely one of my bucket list bands. Pretty Maids. The album is Screamin' Alive. I've told it before on the podcast that the very first time I heard these guys was MTV. I heard Future World, and I've always liked bands that had keyboards in them. And on Future World, you that like I just always loved that. And then so I started picking up the albums. They had albums before that, so I went back and got those. And they're a band that they're still going strong today. But this live album, and Dylan brought this to my attention. I'll give you the track list real quick here. Psycho, Time Bomb, Planet Earth, Rock the House, Rise, Walk Away, Scream, Yellow Rain, Sin Decade, Savage Heart, No Messiah, Please Don't Leave Me. Who sings that song, Jim?
Pretty Maids.
And?
I don't know.
Oh, come on. It's a Thin Lizzy song.
I hear you.
Love Games, Future World, back to back, and Red Hot
What's
Heavy.
the title you have listed there? Please Don't Leave Me?
Please Don't Leave Me. It's a Thin Lizzy song.
Okay. I don't recall that one, but hey.
It's written by John Sykes and Phil Lynott.
Oh, okay. It's okay. That was Baby Please Don't Go off of Thunder and Lightning. Baby Please Don't Go.
No.
Oh, no. Oh, that's what I'm thinking of.
No. Anyway, just a great album, and Dylan was right. The first song, it sounds kind of flat when you listen to the album, but then the rest of it, like Rock the House, it does. It kicks right in. I think it would be better maybe if they just left that song off of there. I don't think it's a great opening song to begin with. It's good, but it's like Rock the House really bang, and it seems like it really lifts the show up. Songs like Scream, Yellow Rain, No Messiah is friggin' fantastic. Future World, back to back, and Red Hot and Heavy is just a cool groove song. I think that song is just friggin' excellent, and this is one of those live albums that I always find myself going back to, so I definitely wanted to throw it out there. And this was actually one of the very first albums I thought of when thinking about doing this episode, was this album.
When you mentioned Pretty Maids, I was a little nervous because I really haven't delved into them too much. Like, I've heard Future World and I really love that song, but I never really gave them as much a chance as other bands because there's just so many out there. And I was a little concerned, like you said, on that first song because it sounds kind of empty. Like it sounds like there's nothing behind the instruments like there should be, like a rhythm guitar or something that fills out the sound when the regular guitar is playing. So I'm like, oh, I hope the rest of the album doesn't sound like this. And it doesn't. It sounds full. The guitars sound awesome. I love the keyboards. The vocals are spot on. This album might have converted me into a Pretty Mates fan and made me want to become a Pretty Mates fan, delve into their catalog a little more, because these songs are really good. I just can't believe I haven't given them a chance before now.
I have to agree, yeah. I mean, Pretty Maids, when they came out with Future Road back in the day, I was like, oh, check these guys. And you can't go around with these guys. I said, they're a solid band. They always put out good stuff. I agree with Steve, they're one on the bucket list but then again,
Maybe get them and Lizzy Borden play the show together.
we live in the United States, so unfortunately we're cursed.
Yeah, because American fans suck.
I think we at least have maybe a shot at seeing Lizzy Borden.
No,
I don't
we
think
do,
there's
yeah.
much of a shot of us seeing the Pretty Mates, unless we go on the Monsters of Rock cruise.
Or you promote the show.
Well,
That is true.
that's not gonna happen.
Well, we can work on it.
Yeah.
You have a better chance of seeing Lizzy Borden, unfortunately, but they do play the cruise, so I mean, there is that slight possibility of seeing them. But like you said, it started off a little, but Rock the House is just, to me, like you said, that should be the song that sets it off, because to me, that just gets it
I
going.
think so. I think if they threw
Rise,
the other one down in the set, might have been
maybe back down there a little further. Scream, I mean, No Messiah, I mean, and then of course their trademark Future Road is. But here's a band that I'd like to hear Dylan say he's going to get more into it, but they're a solid band that just never lets you down. And like I said, they're still doing it today. Unfortunately, not in the United States.
Well, the first time I heard them was yesterday. Actually,
Really?
Yeah, I knew the name. I remember hearing the name because I used to read the British press a lot. Never followed up on them. It's kind of ironic. Biff was talking about it in his book about them opening up for him in the 80s. And then all of a sudden, you pull that album out. It's okay, I'll throw it on. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. I pulled it up on the YouTube, and I was listening to it, and it's like, good band, solid band. I could see them as an opening act. I would say, wow, I really like this band. How the hell did I miss these guys? And if they ever did come around, please count me in. I'd like to go see them. I really have to say I enjoyed them, and I would probably going to be one of those, like, no, next time I'm at a record show, ooh, Pretty Mates. I know this one. I'll pull it out, and it'll come home with me.
Awesome. Hey, see that? We gained a new fan today. Awesome.
Amen.
Yeah.
Or this weekend, rather.
You can't go around with them.
Yeah, cool. That's why I definitely want to throw it out there. You guys out there, definitely, if I'm sure you've heard of Kiss, and I'm sure you've heard of AC/DC, and I'm sure you've heard of Wasp. But if you have not heard of Pretty Mates or heard them before,
Yeah, check them
definitely
out.
check them out.
I'm old
And
school, and I liked them, and they just reminded me of a solid rock. they remind me of an opening act that you would say, wow, these guys are pretty cool. You know what I mean? I'm hoping our paths cross.
Yeah, so if you're looking at them and you see that album out there, that's a good place to start. All right, Dylan, what's your second one?
I'm going to go with the first album that came to my mind in terms of single albums. A little bit of Faster Pussycat.
Pussycat.
What album is that, Dad?
Front Row at the Donkey Show. That's the one I knew Dylan would definitely pick.
It's a straight through, besides House of Pain, rocking album. Even the version of House of Pain on here kind of kicks ass. I love.
That's one song that.
I say BC's a fan of that song.
I don't mind that.
I don't mind that song.
I
I mean, you hear usually when the band comes out and they're rocking, and they play a song, you're kind of like, oh boy.
This album shows that Faster Pussycat is a band to see live because the way that Tame Me Down just gives this attitude to these songs, like changing the lyrics to Cat House to Whore House, like it's so good, and just like the it's all about the pussy, motherfuckers. Like that's it. And do you know why this album is the main reason why this album is the best album?
Why is that?
Because it leaves off anything from Whipped. They do not touch that album.
That's true.
At
That
all.
is true. Yeah.
That album is a slog to get through. Besides Jack the Bastard, Not Stop to Nowhere. The first track is like 9 minutes long.
Yeah.
But all these songs are kick-ass. Babylon is just a great way to end the main set, I would say. They have a cover of It's Only Rock and Roll, and that's kind of feels like throwaway to me. But for the most part, the set list is pretty solid. Like opening up with The Power and the Glory Hole, going into or Whore House, as I should say. The version of Slip of the Tongue, the background vocals on that song are so tight, and the guitar solos in it are really good too. Number one with The Bullet, Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, Where There's a Whip, There's a Way. Slowing it down with House of Pain, but then bringing it back to the sleaze with Porn Star. A nice yelling, Porn Star! And then just into the iconic drum fill intro of Bathroom Wall. It's so good. It's an album that I always come back to whenever I'm looking to pick up my mood because I know that the sleaze of Faster Pussycat will help perk me up.
I agree with the great pick. I mean, can't go wrong with Faster Pussycat. I mean, here's a band that's been around since 87, 86, 87. And they just...
I never liked them.
Huh? They just bring a certain element to it, especially Tame Me Down. He just doesn't give a... He does whatever. You gotta love him. I think he's sober now.
My first experience with them, and you guys are probably at the show, was when they opened up for Alice and Ace up in Binghamton. And nobody knew Faster Pussycat was on the bill. So everybody's all pump Ace, 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 Ace. Will you please welcome Faster Pussycat? What the fuck? I never seen so much shit thrown on a stage in my life. It was unbelievable. I mean, they didn't stand a chance. And I just didn't get into it. I didn't care for it. It was like, maybe because I was just pissed off because where's fuck is Ace? But eventually Ace came out and we all felt better about ourselves. But so much so, about 2 years later, Faster Pussycat is opening for, I forget, somebody else up there, and people are still pissed off from 2 years forward, throwing shit at the stage.
Was it AC/DC? Razor's Edge?
No, Razor's Edge.
Or blow up your video?
That was LA Guns. I could go home and tell you what it is.
Knowledge.
No, you know what? They opened up for David Lee Roth up there.
They also opened up for either White Snake or
No, White Snake, yeah.
or Crew up there. I forget.
They did both, I think.
But either or. But I just remember I thought it was. The guy even remarked and he said last time we played at a place with like a war zone, they were still throwing shit at him. But I just. And all I hear was that House of Pain piece of shit, and I don't know, I just don't get into it. I figured it out this week. I think that what it is, why I don't like the power ballads. I don't like metal bands doing power ballads. I could get into a slow song. I love Chicago, Journey, bands like that. But don't give me a band like Maiden or Priest doing a power ballad because it will just upset me.
Well, Faster Pussycat's no Maiden or Priest either.
No, but I just, like I said, but now considering now that you were such a fan of this, I will give it a listen. I'll give it a listen and check it out because you know what? Maybe I'm just
Oh,
biased.
see, so he didn't listen to it. He was just.
Oh, I wouldn't go near it. You know, I was afraid to pick up a virus.
I was gonna say,
do I have to wear a condom?
granted, House of Pain may be considered a ballad. It's not a song about love. It's a song about him growing up as a kid. And
I don't
like
want to
his
hear
dad's-
your sob
his dad's
story.
missing-
Fucking
like-
pull up your big boy pants and
The thing I like about House of Pain is like it's like a one true like look into the sad life of Take Me Down.
Yeah.
Like the rest is just like partying.
This is why I'm
fucking,
fucked
and
up.
This is why I'm fucked
drinking
up.
and like
Yep.
this is like like an honest look at like a sad bit of
This is why I'm hammering on stage every
yeah.
night.
It's like
right here.
you know what I feel.
I don't know,
It
I
feels
just-
honest. It feels real. And like a lot of the power ballads don't feel like that.
they all feel formulated to me because
They
they're all
do.
forced.
That's the thing.
I
They're
love
so
hate
formulated.
Well, in your case, yeah, right.
But like for some reason, House of Pain just clicks with me, and it feels more.
Like I said,
I look into
it was like, do I have time to listen to all this? Okay, I'm just going to leave Faster Pussycat on the side.
because he doesn't have the voice for a power ballad. Take Me Down,
no.
it's not a power ballad.
What's their other hit?
Bathroom Wall.
Bathroom Wall, I remember. And didn't they have something else that was kind of cheesy?
I mean, Poison Ivy's kind of.
Okay, I'm thinking of another. I'm thinking of
that
another.
was the hate.
I think I'm thinking of L.A. Guns or somebody else. I'm thinking of.
What do you think of it?
What I have to say about this album is I never knew it was out.
That's a good promotion department at the record.
No,
company.
seriously, I never knew it was
did
out.
not
I
have
was
front
it
row.
probably
He
I
was
don't know.
on- He was on the front row.
Maybe 8 or 9 years ago, maybe not that far back. I was on a golf trip down to Myrtle Beach, and there's
They
a
were giving
store
away
there.
Faster Pussycat albums?
No, shh. There's a record, like it, not even a record store there. It's like it's
a
called Retroactive. It has
70s,
like
80s,
70s and
90s
80s, 90s, like music stuff there, and they have a little section that has CDs. So, and like I don't think they're in any particular order. So I'm going through and I see Faster Pussycat, and I look at the cover. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I've never seen this before. And I'm like, front row for the Donkey Show, and I turn around the back, and I'm like, oh, is this like one of them official bootleg ones or something that they put out? So I'm like, all right. So I pick it up, and I pick up a couple other things, and I go out to my vehicle, and actually I did have a CD player in my vehicle at the time, and I go out and I put it in. My expectations were like it's going to be like one of those official bootleg ones that sound like ass, and I put it in, and I'm like, holy fuck, this sounds good. And it came on, Power in the Glory Hole, Cat House, Slip of the Tongue, Number One with a Bullet, Where There's a Whip, There's a Way. I was blown away. I thought it sounded great. And I think the best thing was that I never even knew that this album was out. Because they were still playing M3 and stuff like that. But it was never said that, I never heard anybody mention it. And I put it in, I was blown away. The only glaring thing that I don't like, and they still don't do it, I haven't seen them do Poison Ivy in years. I love that song. I think it's freaking great. I love that song.
Piano on this really
I think Porn Star on this album is just off the chart. It sounds great. My wife actually even likes the song. That comes on, she like actually turns up the volume occasionally. And Bathroom Wall, Babylon, Shut Up and Fuck. Just a great sleaze album. And like I said, I have a special place in my heart for this because it was a surprise that I didn't even know it was out. And it was even bigger surprise that it didn't sound like shit. And it's a good sounding live album.
Yeah.
It's great, and it is a good album to put on just to kick back and throw back a cold one or something like that, and just
All right,
Makes you wanna party.
You
It's-
sold me. I'll listen to it.
it's
By-
good.
By no means is Faster Pussycat.
Yeah, they're not like Rush.
Yeah.
Or Dream Theater or Iron Maiden, but they are what they are.
They're a fun band.
Fun,
Yep.
fun sleazy band.
And it comes through good on this album, I think.
And then everybody says when they're on the cruise, they play late at night.
Play late at night, everybody's all
hammered
ripped
and-
up.
They play last
And it's
for a
great.
reason.
All right, cool, good pick, Dylan. And that was one because I knew he was going to definitely pick that one. So I'm like, I know you're going to. I just told myself, I know you're going to pick this one, so
Yeah.
I'm not even going to look at it.
I figured you would. I was figuring you would have picked that.
Yeah. Oh, I would have, but I knew Dylan was going to pick it. What do you got up next, BC?
I'm gonna go up north here to a band discovered many moons ago, Boston Boys Godsmack. They came out in 2012 with the Live and Inspired. Here's a band that I first saw before they, I guess, would took off like they did Tinks. Again, another band we saw at Tinks back when Tinks was cool and had good shows. But they came out and like there wasn't too many people there because, like I said, nobody really. I mean,
one
it
knew
was
them.
just like I think it was on the bill as
Boston's number one band.
Yeah, Boston, Massachusetts, Godsmack appearing tonight, and I was like, yeah, I forget where you were. I went down.
I was working. I
went down by
that was the
myself.
night I was on
said,
shift.
let's go down. Went down. They came out and they just. I mean.
Because I don't think you were working at the station.
No, it was before my time there. I mean, just the aggression and the drummer at the time was really good, Tommy Stewart. On this one, they have Shannon Larkin, which is phenomenal drummer too. But it was, believe it or not, they're from Boston. They recorded in Detroit, Fox's Theater. They said for some reason there's a special kind of fan base in Detroit. Yeah. Which, okay, whatever. We take your word for it. So they start off with Straight Outta Line, which that was on one of those rock movies, wasn't it?
Straight Outta Line?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Rock. One of them, I don't know. Realigned, and then they kick in the wake, and
was it A Man Apart with Vin Diesel?
No. It was Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. It was
more like Egyptian or something.
Was it one of the Mummy movies? One of the Mummy.
It was in a video game, Prince of Persia. Is that what you're thinking of?
No, it was in a movie. It was from a movie.
It was a movie.
Are you
maybe you were hammered?
I don't think
maybe you thought you were watching a movie.
I think it was the Scorpion King.
Yeah.
Let me double check this. I don't think it was in the Scorpion King.
They realigned Awake, Moon Baby, which is off their first album.
That's great.
That's just a great song. Anything off the first album, I think, is just great. It has that raw. Yeah, of course, you say that about any band.
I Stand Alone was in.
Maybe that's it.
Scorpion King.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know. See, that's
you could edit that shit out.
I'll leave it in there. It's fucked up. Changes, The Enemy, which is a great song. Keep Away, another one off their first album. Speak, Voodoo, and help me out with number 10 here.
Batalla de los Tambores.
Yes, it's a dual drum solo with Shannon Larkin and Sawyer.
I think it translates to Battle of the Drums.
Yeah, it's pretty much a back and forth thing, which I think is
just fantastic live.
Real good.
Kick-ass
live. If I get the chance to see these guys live, they pretty much do it ever since. Mm-hmm. They might have even did it before that. And another one off their first album, Whatever. Great.
I think before that, Sonny did not a full kit, just the drums on the roto toms on the side.
He used to do it, but now it's
drums. Now it's dueling drum sets. It's freaking phenomenal.
Really, Serenity, which and then they comes out with I Stand Alone, which Scorpion King. But I mean, there's a band that they have that heaviness to them, but on this, it's still heavy, but matured heavy.
Absolutely.
Controlled chaos.
Yeah, I'm really proud of myself. I'm really proud of myself because it does translate to Battle of the Drums. Spanish.
Pete, you from Canada?
Yes,
Hey, college is finally paying off for him.
How many more payments?
You didn't start yet.
Yeah.
I listened to this album, and it reminded me of Bruce Dickinson's Balls to Picasso album, and the Live in Studio A and Live at the Marquee. And I got into it because I took it from there because I love those albums. They're very grungy from Bruce, and that's what this reminded me of. It had the same vibe, the same feel, and you're right. It has the aggression, and it's just like controlled. It's almost like
powish aggression.
It's almost like business casual. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I would describe. It's a very enjoyable album. One that I wouldn't have listened to if you hadn't put it on your list, but I enjoyed it. And then I'll listen to that one again.
Yeah, I like it. I've always been a fan of Godsmack because I remember when BC came back from that show, just like holy shit, you should have been there last night, and it was friggin' great. And I obviously went out and bought their first album when it came. Was that album even out when you saw them? It was either just out or it was just coming out. Because I remember I got it right after it came out, and it wasn't too long after that show. But they
played. I want to say they played Moon Baby on the radio back then, and I don't think I even had the CD when I went to see.
So it might have been. Yeah. So it might have
just came out, and they're like. I love when you go somewhere and you're not really expecting much.
And then they just blow your head off.
They blow your head off, and it's like, damn. And I think I went out and got it after that.
I really love Realigned. That's one of my favorite Godsmack songs. And like you said, the drum, the back and forth drums is great. Voodoo is great. It's just a great album. And when they did release that, that's the live part, and the inspired part is there's four cover tracks on the on the extra stuff that came with it, the extra disc that came with it. Rocky Mountain Way, Come Together, Time, and Nothing Else Matters. And they're good versions of those songs, too. I just wanted to throw them out there, but a great, great album.
When I first saw this album, I was a little mad because I'm like, where's Love, Hate, Sex, Pain? I love that song. But apparently they had recorded the show before that album was released.
They did.
The Oracle. So I'm like, okay, I understand why, but like that's my favorite Godsmack song. So I was like, I'm gonna have to listen to this album without listening to them. But then like you realize how many Godsmack songs you know, and like I'm like, I know that one. I've heard that one on the radio. And like they sound exactly like they do in the studio. Like they're just tight and polished, but still with that attitude. And I love in Whatever, like I was listening to that, and then they break into like part of the chorus to Detroit Rock City, and then the end with the drum intro to Over the Mountain, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. So like this album was really fun for me to listen to because they added stuff to, for fans to look into and find something new other than the CD versions.
Great pick, though. Great pick. Excellent album. Great band. And they're a band that we talked about a couple, 2-3 times. Maybe we'll have to throw a Godsmack episode out there. We'll figure out something to do with them guys. Very cool.
One of my classmates played golf with Sonny Renna.
Oh, really? That's cool. Very cool. All right, Jim, what do you got next for us?
I'm gonna stick with the classics. We're gonna go to Japan for Judas Priest, Unleashed in the East. Or as some people call it, Unleashed in the Studio. Now, I've listened to, it was recorded on 2 nights, February 10th, don't even ask me to pronounce it, in Japan and Tokyo, and February 15th at the Nakano Sun Plaza in Tokyo. And I have the February 15th show, the whole show, and Rob sounds great on it. I mean, the band sounds tight on it, so it must have been something that they were hearing that we wouldn't notice, that it was off a little bit. I mean, it sounds almost identical to it. I mean, the Japanese version of the album came out with a 45 that had like 4 extra tracks on it, along with the songs you knew, like Exciter, Running Wild, The Ripper, Diamonds and Rust. I mean, it had Rock Forever, Delivering the Goods, Starbreaker, and Hellbent for Leather. I can speak. On the 45, and I believe the reissue has them contained on the CD, but originally they were not on the US album. And a couple songs that they played tonight that weren't recorded was Beyond the Realms of Death, White Heat, Red Hot, Evil Fantasies, and Take on the World. But it was one of those to listen to, you rocked out to, and you didn't realize until you turned the album sideways what you thought was Japanese print. Oh, live in Japan. You just didn't realize that. And it was the last album that Les Binks played on. He was, I guess, walked into the venue and realized, hey, what's that mobile truck doing out there? And he was never a full member of the band. He was a hired hand, and he was paid to do recordings and stuff. And, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. And he never got paid for Unleashed in the East, and that's why you didn't see him in Priest anymore.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
That part I did not know.
Yeah. And if you look on the album cover, like, there's no pictures of the drummer.
Yeah.
Great pick. And this is the first Judas Priest album that I ever had. And I absolutely love it. Front to back. It starts with Exciter. I could live without Diamonds and Rust. And I am glad that you said the songs they didn't record. I'm glad Take on the World is not on there because I hate that song.
Oh, I have a bootleg ready here to go, oh, God, not fucking Take on the World again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I hate that song. I really do. But it's great. And I love Sinner. That is such a good song. And that was always the song that K.K. Downing did his major guitar parts in that. The Ripper, Genocide. Genocide is a freaking great song. And I was so happy when Rob Halford was out doing the Halford stuff.
And he was throwing some of them.
And he was doing songs like that, like Tyrant and Genocide. Like, when I heard Halford do Genocide, I was like, oh my God, fucking excellent. It was just fantastic. And it always did kind of seem weird to me that when I had this album, that Tyrant was like the last song. Because it really didn't seem like a...
You hear the machine gun in it?
No.
Take a close listen to it. You can hear the machine gun. He used to come out with a machine gun. Can't do it today for some reason. And he'd fire a machine gun into the crowd.
Oh no! I'll have to listen to that.
Listen to
but
it.
It didn't seem to me like, because it ended and I'm like, it doesn't really seem like an ending song, because I'd had Kiss Alive and Kiss Alive 2, and you had Shout Out Loud on Alive 2, and you had Let Me Go Rock and Roll on Kiss Alive, and a couple other live albums I had. You always seem to have some kind of sort of anthemic song at the end, and Tyrant wasn't that. So I was, even back when I was listening to stuff like that, not thinking about music how I think about it now, I always thought there was a little something off about that album.
Let down, like it just wasn't the way you wanted it.
Yeah, I mean, Tyrant's a great song, but it just didn't seem like a great ending song. Yeah. So I just thought maybe there's something more out there.
Well, that's the way Tyrant was the way they ended the show. They finished the encore.
Oh, really? That was their actual ending song?
They ended with Tyrant. Hell Bent for Leather was the first encore, Take on the World, and then Tyrant. They ended with Starbreaker to close the set with Starbreaker.
Oh, well, see, now that I think is a little more...
Starbreaker would have been a better...
anthemic, not even an anthem, but just I just thought that Tyrant wasn't a great ending song for a show. But I love it, my first Priest album, and I still listen to it this day. I still have my original copy. One of the few vinyls that I still have the original copy of.
It's a classic live album for a reason. It's cool to see a lot of these songs live because you will never see these played live again, some of them. But not for like a bad reason. Like a lot of these songs are really great, and it's cool to hear live versions of them. And actually, I was really excited to hear Sinner when we saw Priest for the Firepower tour. I was like, holy shit! I never thought
they pulled out some gems. It was like
they did.
And then Saints in Hell.
Wait, the dad.
Saints in Hell.
And I think this is the definitive version of the Green Manalishi.
Yes.
Not the one that's on.
Okay, who did it originally?
It was the Peter Green Fleetwood Mac.
Fleetwood Mac, very good.
And for the longest time I didn't know that, but then I found out I'm like Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah. Fleetwood Mac was a great blues band.
Yeah, with Peter Green they were a completely different band.
Yeah. And Black Magic Woman.
Yeah. I was kind of blown away by how different they sounded, but Priest really makes the song their own. And the same thing with Diamonds and Rust, I think. You would never think that was...
There's a Joan Baez too.
Yeah, you would never think that was...
And she loved it. Apparently, when they did Live Aid together, she said, I got to meet Priest.
That's awesome.
I got to meet Priest.
That's really cool. And I absolutely love Victim of Changes. Rob Halford's vocals in Victim of Changes are just some of the best vocals around. He just pulled them off so well. And Tyrant isn't the greatest closer of a just close a set, but you got to keep authentic, and if that's how they close their set, that's how you should close a live album.
I like a live album that's you can sit there and you can listen to the show and see the show in your face.
That's what I'm like.
You were introduced to Thin Lizzy Live and Dangerous. You look at that, and I remember somebody said when you open up the gatefold and you look at it, you can see the show unfold, and the same way through the album, and I like that also.
Yeah, just like a good studio album that tells you a story. A live album should transport you to the show, put you right in the front row.
Front row on the hottest night of the tour. I agree.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think this is an album that does that.
I agree. I mean, this great album, and some of my standouts on here are Running Wild, Sinner, The Ripper, Green Manalishi, and really Victim of Changes, I think is great. Of course, the typical Deliver the Goods, A Bit for Another, and Starbreaker.
Again, we're on the original album. They were on the 45 you got if you got the Japanese press for the extra $45, and then when it came out on CD as the bonus tracks.
That was another one that I figured
you knew that was coming down the pipe. You saw that's a softball pitch.
And there's another one that I discussed with you that I thought you might pick, but then I realized why you didn't. But then there's another one I was telling Dylan about that. I'm really surprised you didn't pick. I'll talk to you about it after.
Because
I totally holy shit.
There's so many albums out there.
No, but this one I'm very, very surprised. This was one.
I could have went deep for all of them, and you would say, "What the fuck is wrong with you, man?"
The one you went a little deep on, I was like, it was.
No, I know what you're talking about, but I didn't bring it tonight.
Yeah,
it's a great album. It was a great album.
I enjoyed it, but I couldn't find the actual version that you had. Excellent pick. I'm not gonna say slow it down, but my next pick is something I think was maybe somewhat of a surprise to you guys. Maybe not. Maybe to Jim. I picked Asia, Live in Moscow from 1990. I'm getting 2 thumbs up from Jim. I've always loved Asia. When their first album came out, I really liked it. I've always said I've always liked stuff with keyboards. I've always liked stuff like sticks and everything like that. And I really dug these guys when they came out. And I have my original vinyls from these guys too. And when this came out, it came out in November of 1990. Pat Thrall was the only guy that was an original member playing on this. He never played on any studio stuff. He just played.
Great player. I saw him with Meatloaf. He was fantastic.
He just played live for this tour. And it's you don't really miss Steve Howe. You could tell that it's not the same guitar player.
Well, Steve Howe only played on the first album.
No, he played on the first couple. He played on the first 3 albums.
Well, that was the reason John Wetton left, because he got tired of Steve Howe wanting to do 12-minute epics instead of 4-minute songs.
Yeah, but I mean, just a fantastic band.
Yes, awesome.
And, I love it. Time Again, Soul Survivor, Don't Cry. Jeff Downs has a keyboard solo with part of Video Killed, the radio star in there that he did with the Buggles. Only Time Will Tell, Rock and Roll Dreams, Starless, and Book of Saturday from King Crimson. Smiles Left Your Eyes, Wildest Dreams, Heat Goes On,
Smiles
Go,
Left Your Eyes.
Heat of the Moment, Open Your Eyes. Just a great album, and it's not a sappy, crappy band album. There's a lot of energy on these songs. I listened to the first song, Time Again. This song is a friggin' great I want to say a hard rock song, but it's one of their hardest rocking songs, but it's friggin' great, and the guitar work is great in it. And listen to, at the end, The Heat Goes On. Just a phenomenal album and a great guitar. I mean, everything is great. Carl Palmer's drums, Jeff Downs on keyboards, John Wetton. I am so glad I got to see them live with him before he passed away.
He was one of the great rock and roll voices. Incredible.
Yeah, his vocals were phenomenal. I got to see them down at Mohegan Sun at the ballroom down there, and I was in the front row. I had front row tickets. Well, I didn't actually have front row tickets.
You made your way up front.
No. One of the guys that worked down there hooked me up. He actually got tickets for. Remember, we went down to see Vince Neil, BC, and I was going to go get the tickets, and the guy he gave me free tickets, so we didn't pay for anything. And then we were my wife and I were walking into this show. She's like, "Come on, let's go." I said, "No, hang on a second." I saw the guy there, and I said, "Can I talk to you for a second?" He said, "Sure." I said, "Listen," I said, "I'm sure you don't remember me, but when Vince Neil played here, I said, you hooked me up with some tickets, and I said, I want to say thank you, and I really appreciate it." And he's like, "Oh my God." Like, he went on this big thing, like, no one ever appreciates what I do and thank me for stuff like that. And he said, "Well, do you have tickets for tonight's show?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, let me see them." So he gets them. I was like maybe 20th row or something like that. He goes, "You don't want to sit here." He goes, "Just give them to me." So I'm like, "Okay." So he takes the tickets, and then he hands me back 2 other tickets. I don't even look at them. I just put them in my pocket. We go. My wife buys a shirt. And then so I go up to the door, and the lady says, "Oh, where are you sitting?" I said, "Here's my ticket." She goes, "Oh, sir, come with me." I'm like,
"Uh-oh."
Okay.
And
we're going down and down and down. And she goes, "Okay, here's your seats." We're in the front row, right in front of John Wetton. And I was like, these aren't our seats. I said, "It says row A on the ticket."
Brought me down here.
And it was amazing. And I was so glad I got to see them. And it was just a phenomenal show. And I just love Asia. I think they're a great band.
Great band.
And their music is fantastic. If you guys think they suck, you know what? Listen to them. They do not suck. They kick ass. Done.
I always completely forgot that Jeff Downs was the Buggles, and it always blows my mind that he went on to help form Asia. Because that's kind of a Video Killed the Radio Star is kind of a joke of a song in a way.
If you were there, you look at it and you say, you know what? It just fits the moment. First song on MTV.
It was the first song on MTV.
It's a very Innocence Lost tune.
But I mean, this is a great live album. It's the first of 32 live albums that Asia would eventually put out.
Probably.
Which is no, I counted.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, there's 32 live albums minus the compositions.
And how many of them do you have, sir?
I don't have a lot. Do you? I know you have
I have about 10.
7 or 10?
I have about 10 of them.
I have a 4 CD box set that turned out was a bootleg, but it's really good.
But that's a band that makes their money live, whether or not it's CD or actually seeing them in concert, and they're good. This is a good live album. I do think the keyboard solo is a bit much. It was kind of boring. The only part that really excited me was when he hinted at his other big song, Video Killed the Radio Star. But The other
It's not that
song-
long, so
yeah.
that it's not
Let's not go for a piss
very
Yeah.
painful.
The other songs are great. There's some awesome versions of Only Time Will Tell. There's an awesome version of Heed the Moment. I do like the track that they opened with. What was
Time
it?
Again.
Time Again. That was really good. It's a good album. A lot more mellow than the rest of the albums we listened to, but it kept my attention, and it was a nice palate cleanser, like going through the different albums. So it was nice.
I'm going to admit this is my first listening to, say, Asia. But
So he got your cherry.
he broke my cherry in this one. It was different. Like you said, it's a little different music style than we normally discuss or listen to. But I can see myself listening to it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only a few songs like Soul Survivor, Only Time Will Tell, and The Heat of the Moment that I was very familiar with. The other stuff was like, first time hearing it, was like,
But there's some good stuff there.
just good stuff. Yes, I have to admit that.
The pedigree of that band is like King Crimson, and you were talking about Jeff Downs. He was with Yes for
Yeah,
one
he
album.
was.
I love the Drama album. It's one of my favorite albums, period.
Yeah.
And Asia rocks. They're one of those. I'm proud to fly the Asia flag. I envy you. I wish I got to see them. I never did, unfortunately. And like I said, he has one of the best voices, period. And they're just a great. Carl Palmer, I got to see him with ELP, and he's probably one of the greatest drum solos I've ever seen. I'm watching this guy play, and he's like, this guy's 1,000,000 years old, and he's playing like this. Like, holy crap!
Yeah,
He's just like,
he's a good
wow.
drummer to watch too. Yeah, and I really like John Wetton's vocals. Very soulful. There's
Yes.
some songs that he will sing, and it's certain notes or songs that you could yourself just go,
Agreed.
you know, there's something about certain
He's somebody you say,
songs.
God, if I could sing, that's the man I'd like to sing like.
Yeah, it just like so underrated. I wish that they were extremely popular when they first came out, and
I remember the first
they
album was
kind of
huge.
waned, and then they had a bunch of albums after John Wetton was out with John Payne, which some of them are actually pretty good too. And then Carl Palmer was out, and Chris Slade actually jumped for them
I remember
on a
that.
couple albums, but. He's just such a soulful singer, and it like I said, you hear him sing some notes, and it just catches you.
Was aggravated because he left. Because, like I said, him and Steve Howe just didn't get along, and they did that one live show from Japan with I think Greg Lake took over the vocals. It was the one that was video broadcast live all over the world. And it was like, oh, I wish John Wetton was on that show.
Yeah, he's just phenomenal. All right, so we're 2/3 of the way through our albums. A good time as any to take a break and go into our hidden gems. All right, time for hidden gems. You know what? I'm going to change it up tonight. We've done hidden gems to death for a while. I'm going to do something different that maybe I'll throw out there when I feel like it. Prerogative of the management, I'll call it. We're going to do something, I'm going to call it off the top of your head. We're talking about live albums, single live albums. Let's go around the table, just off the top of your head. Give me your best double live album. What do you think? We'll start with...
You. I gotta think about this one.
Off the top of your head, you don't have to think about it. Boom. When I said that,
Thin Lizzy, Live and Dangerous. UFO Strangers in the Night.
the first one. What was the first one that came to the top of your
All
head?
the World's a Stage.
All the
I
World's
heard.
a
All the World's a Stage. Rush. Talk just briefly
your-
about it.
This was the album that I matured to hard rock to. Growing up as if I word this the wrong way, you might go like, "What?" I grew up as a Kiss fan, like all of us did, and then I heard All the World's a Stage. Is like, this is the cat's ass. It's heavier, more complex.
So different.
So different. And I remember going to school on hearing it on the bus, and I asked, what the hell did they listen to back there? And they said, All the World's a Stage, and they handed the 8-track up to me. And looking at the cover, and somebody took it was metal, like a diamond metal tape, and put it around the album cover on it, and it looked so fucking cool. It's like, oh, I gotta get this. You remember the RCA Music Club?
Yeah.
Well, I was a member of that, and I just got in, and there it was. I ordered that, 2112, and Yes, Fragile, on the same to complete my obligation. When that album came in, and I opened up the package, where the fuck's the metal tape? I realized it was the kid.
There was a kid that put it on there.
And then I had it, and I loved it. I played the shit off of it. And then I was down, remember the Electric Mine Shaft?
Mm-hmm.
I was down there, and I looked at those, wait a second, this is a triple gatefold. Mine isn't. And the guy said, I'd never seen one that wasn't. So the Record Club edition was just a single gatefold,
Oh.
and I got the triple gatefold, so bought it immediately. But that's the first one that popped in my head.
All right.
All the world's
cool.
Estates.
I actually just picked that up on vinyl myself. BC, what came to your head first?
What I'm listening to currently,
What?
the Low X.
Double?
It's a double CD all acoustic show from.
Oh, the one you're trying to get me to listen to.
You'll listen.
I still have not listened to it.
You'll listen to it tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. Yeah, BC and I are working a shift together tomorrow. Actually working a 12-hour shift tomorrow, and then we're working a 24 on Friday.
So you definitely. There was a video too of it. So
Oh, we
you
could
definitely watch it.
No fires. Dylan, what came to your mind first?
First one that popped in was Queen Life Killers. I absolutely love that album. Starts off with the fast version
Of
We
We
Will
Will-
Rock You.
I have the website for you.
Oh, yeah?
It has somebody took that album and broke it down edit by edit and tells you where each part of the song came from. The first 20 seconds of this song is from this show.
Oh, that's
this
cool.
is from that show. I have the website for you. I will
That's
have to
cool.
send you a link.
Really? That album was that edited?
Yes.
Really?
Oh yeah, they sat through.
Well, they even censor Freddie Mercury during
'cause he was-
Death on
Well,
Two
I
Legs,
remember
'cause he
that.
goes,
Yeah, you hear that.
Real
yeah.
motherfucker of a gentleman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that. All right, cool.
But
That-
yeah,
that's
I
a-
will send you that link, and it's really an interesting decision.
That does sound really
Really,
cool.
that's cool. And for me, the first one that came to mind for me is, and I mentioned it earlier, Frampton Comes Alive. This was the.
We could all say Frampton Comes Alive. I mean,
No,
that's-
but it's what came to mind because besides Kiss, this was the first live album that I heard. Besides the Elvis live via satellite from
Hawaii.
Hawaii, that was my
Hawaii.
very first. But my first rock album, like besides Elvis, that I heard besides Kiss was Peter Frampton Comes Alive. And actually, Dylan and I were on vacation.
I was gonna say.
Last week, and the album that I had was my cousin's that we were visiting, and I loved it. So that was the first one that came to my mind.
Did you find Aloha from Hawaii while we were on vacation? by
I
the
did
way?
actually. Dylan and I went on a little vinyl finding trip, and Dylan found that Elvis album for me, so I picked that up, and I picked up King Cobra, Ready to Strike for like $7 or something like that. I picked up a
Bargain of choice.
bunch of other stuff. We went to this one place. They were closing. All the vinyl was like 50 cents.
Yeah.
I picked up some
Zebra?
crazy shit. Some Zebra I picked up. No Telling Lies I picked up for 50 cents. Heart, Eddie Money, a bunch of different ones. And I was able to pick up the TKO album, In Your Face, is it? Right?
Yes.
In Your Face for BC. And I had a list actually from BC and BB of what to look for. And there was nothing that I could really find, because the metal section in the one store I went to was pretty much blown out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back
No,
to
you
my,
won't find a bargain on metal. That's the one guy said. That's where I make my money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll never find a bargain.
Yeah, it was like torched the metal area.
Yeah.
the Lil Axe one I've been talking about. I drawn a total blank. Is One Night in the Temple, which is recorded before an audience of 100 friends of theirs.
Huh.
In
We
the
went there. Aren't you my friend?
Soundland Studio. I had to work it. It's a still functioning Masonic temple which only 100 people can get into this little place,
Wow.
and they recorded this double live.
Oh, cool.
acoustic album.
So save your gems for the next show. I figured
Damn
we'll
it! I had a run that I was really going to throw it at you.
I figure we'll do something. I figure we'd do something a little different. And before we get right back into it, real quick, I want to talk about the Rock and Pod Expo coming up in Nashville at the Nashville Palace on August 25th. Gene Simmons' birthday and my cousin Kim's birthday also.
Which one are you celebrating?
Both, because it's actually my cousin Kim's 50th birthday. So Kim, if you're listening out there, happy birthday
Happy
in
birthday,
advance. And she will join the 50 Club also, as I have joined this year. Jim, you've been there a while.
The view is nice.
BC is working on it. Dylan, you got a long way to go. But Rock and Pod Expo, there is
Almost halfway there.
so many cool guests
on a
that are going to be there. All of us guys will be there. It's looking like Dylan's going to be able to attend with us. So we will be there. If you're there, you guys, we're going to have a table. We're going to be splitting a table with the guys from Digital Killed. And we're going to have stuff to give away. We're going to have koozies and picks and postcards and hopefully some other stuff. Stop by, say hello. Maybe we'll do a little recording with you guys out there. If you stop by and say hello, we'll get you on the show. We have perks out there. Dylan's going to post a link on our page, on our Facebook page, and on our podcast page on iTunes. The perks are $5, and this all the money that you donate through this goes to the expo and the cost of putting it on, and nothing goes to us. But if you guys donate to that, it's a really good cause, and these guys, Chris Sinzak, they just do a great job of putting the Brian Cramp also. I'm sorry, Brian. They do a great job of putting this together. It was awesome last year. I can't wait to see what the hell it's going to be this year. There's pre-parties this year. There's post-parties. There's a vinyl expo the next day. It's just going to be a kick-ass weekend. There's even a comedy show, I believe, on Sunday night, I think, down there. It's just going to be a phenomenal weekend. You pay $5, we'll give you a shout-out. We'll say we'll give us a list of your favorite bands. We'll read them off. $10, you get a shout out. Give us an album to review, and we'll review it for you. $20, pick a topic for us to talk about. Boom, we'll nail that topic. Plus, send you a prize pack from us in the mail. For $40, pick an album for us to review, and we do it on air review with you. You could do the album review with us online on the show, actually, and we will send you a prize pack in the mail. $50, pick a topic and join us for the topic. You can be on the whole show with us. It's really cool, and we'll send you a prize pack in the mail. So there's some cool perks there, and hopefully we can get to interact with you, and it's for a good cause. So help these guys out. They do a great job, and it just defrays some of the costs that it cost these guys to put this awesome thing on. And it's all for you guys out there. If it wasn't for you guys listening, we love you guys. We wouldn't be doing this, and it's going to be a great time down there, and I think everybody's going to benefit from it.
Still love it loud? So do we. Rockin' Pod returns to Nashville on Saturday, August 25th. Over 25 rock podcasts from all over North America recording on-site. Vinyl and memorabilia dealers selling the best in rock merchandise. And awesome rock musicians and personalities participating in signing sessions and on-stage panel discussions throughout the day. Special guests include current and former members of Korn, Kiss, Angel, Winger, Loudness, Accept, Bang Tango, Kick Tracy, as well as producers that have worked with Slayer, Ozzy, Alice Cooper, Sevendust, and many more. More guests being added weekly. Don't miss your chance to be part of an awesome celebration of all things rock. Rockin' Pod takes place at the legendary Nashville Palace, August 25th, 2018. More details available at rockinpod.com. That's ROCKNPOD.com. The Nashville Rockin' Pod Expo. Brought to you by Blind Tiger Record Club, School of Rock Nashville, and School of Rock Franklin, a DBG Productions event.
Let's get back into it. We'll go back to Dylan. This is going to be our last album, and then we'll go do our albums, do our little talk, and then we'll wrap it up.
Like I said, thanks to this album, I've been listening to Dream Theater lately. It's their first live album, the only single live album that they've had. The rest are double and triple live albums, just because of the length of their songs and the weight of their material.
Probably the shortest album they ever had.
They're a modern day
46
metal
minutes.
Pink Floyd.
It's a live at the Marquee, recorded at London's Marquee Club on April 24th, 1993. It's a really cool album because they only had two albums previously to work, like of material to work with, Images and Words and When Dream and Day Unite. And it's really cool because there's technically two songs that weren't released on albums. Like Bombay Vindaloo is an instrumental that they've only played live 6 times, and it's only released on this album, which is really cool. And they do an instrumental transition from Another Day into Killing Hand that they call Another Hand, they combine it with the Killing Hand in the album. But this is a really tight live album. They start off with Metropolis Part 1, The Miracle and the Sleeper, a kick-ass song. One of my favorite Dream Theater songs, actually. Then they go into A Fortune in Lies, then the Bombay Vindaloo, Surrounded, which really is awesome, and then Another Hand, The Killing Hand, and then they end with their greatest hit as their Pull Me Under.
And that was the first experience with Dream Theater, was Pull Me Under. And I was like, ooh, it got me caught. And then I went into, and I got that album, like I said, and they had this other album that was import at the time back then, and when you were younger, you could get a lot of stuff like you could nowadays.
Yeah.
And then this was the second Dream Theater I picked up, and I was like, nice.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think they were more, not as complex as they are nowadays.
You can see the seeds of it.
You can see it was started. There was definitely a foundation to go off of. Yeah. It was more heavier, I thought, with a lot more, a heavier rush.
Yeah. And the instrumentals sound great on this. But James LaBrie's vocals, a lot of them were actually re-recorded in a studio because I guess they got messed up on the thing. But I mean, they mix them in pretty well. It doesn't sound terrible. So it's kind of like a Unleashed in the Studio type situation. But this is a really tight album. If somebody was like, get me into Dream Theater, I don't have like more than an hour, I would maybe give them this album.
You would have to.
Yeah.
If you don't have more than an hour, you got to go with this album.
Because like it's a nice primer for them because it has their hit and it has some of their more like started their complicated stuff.
But Pull Me Under, like you said, their most commercialized hit.
The one that everybody knows.
Everybody knows.
So good though, and that's actually I feel like maybe the weakest sounding song because I don't like the weird whammy on the opening guitar. It sounds kind of weird, maybe because I'm so used to hearing the studio version. That's maybe my weakest song, but like Surrounded kicks ass, Metropolis kicks ass. I like Bombay Vindaloo, and I wish they played it more live because it's a cool instrumental and not too complicated. But something that shows off the chops and gives James LaBrie a break.
Most rested vocalist in rock
right.
and roll. Yeah, I mean, I got to agree with everything Dylan said. I mean, this was my second experience with Dream Theater at the time, which really drew me to the band. And back in this day, again, you had to go to shows to get bootlegs.
Yeah.
And I would always grab bootlegs of Dream Theater at the KISS conventions back when we used to go to them.
And they released their own bootlegs too, like the Majesty tapes.
I remember them doing their version of Number of the Beast. The whole
so
album.
good.
Yes.
So good.
Especially, it's
Do
like
you have that?
I have a copy of. I don't know whether it's an official release or a bootleg.
Well, I don't care.
Yes, I do.
It's an official bootleg.
I'd appreciate it.
I just love they took Gangland.
It's
and
like
took
a jazzy.
It's like a smooth jazz.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It needs help.
Gangland
sorry,
is
go
good.
ahead.
But I mean, between this and Images and Words were the two albums that really got me into Dream Theater back in the day.
Yeah.
Dream Theater is one of those bands that demands full attention. You sit and you listen.
Yep.
You're not reading a book. You're not.
Because they're giving you a book.
You listen to it. Otherwise, they can be very, very overwhelming.
You could be lost. Yeah.
And I think they're phenomenal. I only got to see them the one time when they opened for Maiden, and I love them. And I maybe again, didn't they just do something new out of Japan? A new live album or something like that? Because I remember I got a copy of something, and somebody said, "Oh, they've got a live album coming out." I want to say November. Is it coming out?
I think they do. I think I might. I have
the 3 CD whatever, and I'm thinking this sounds really good. I can't wait to see when they mix it down.
Yeah, I enjoy this. The first time I actually ever listened to this album, I like Metropolis is really, really cool. The song which kind of surprised me that I liked the best on here was Surrounded. Kind of mellow vocals. I love it when James LaBrie sings the softer stuff for some reason. I think it's great. I really enjoyed it. It was a good, I won't say diversion, but it was different than a lot of the other stuff. And like I said, I like James LaBrie's vocals on that. Like if you listen to on the Astonishing, there's a song called The Answer, and The Gift of Music and The Answer. His vocals are so soulful on that, and I think that Surrounded is that type of vocals on there.
Yeah.
And it's just such a good album. And I agree with you guys too. I think that Pull Me Under is probably the weakest song on the album.
Still good.
It's still good, but
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to be in line with the other songs on the album for some reason.
Kind of like theirs shook me all night long.
Yeah, I think it was their.
Nothing could be as.
I think it was their whoever at the time was when they were doing the album was their way of getting to the radio.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're not radio.
No, they are not.
That is the most radio Dream Theater you're ever going to get.
Lengthwise
Maybe the
and
Lengthwise, sound-wise,
Yeah.
that was the most radio hit you're going to get.
I think so. But good pick though, Dylan. I'm glad you picked that one.
And
Sorry.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. No, go ahead, Dylan.
The live album that they're coming out with is Back to Budokan 2017.
Okay. Because I have a.
I remember seeing something.
I have something from the soundboard. I had Matrix, and it's like, ooh, I can't wait to hear the way they're going to mix this.
All right, cool. All right, BC. Here we go. Okay, here we go, everybody. Are you ready?
It's a
You got your 4-point harness on there, and you got your Hans device ready to go. Okay, BC.
I waited all night for this, and I'm going to start off this. My last pick is it's Lizzy.
If you pick something, if you said this earlier in the episode, I was going to be like, "What the
Great fucking album.
What did you say?
Thin Lizzy, live and dangerous.
It is good, but it's double. It doesn't count.
Doesn't count on
On this episode.
on tonight's show. Yes.
Yeah.
So if I had to pick again, I'm going to go with Lizzy Borden this
Okay.
time. The Murderous Metal Roadshow, which
Didn't make it past the first round of our bracket.
You just got to look at the competition. Anyway,
different things. But,
shut up, Dylan.
We're going to Murderous Metal Roadshow 2020 is going to come out. I wasn't supposed
We
to
hope
say
that
anything.
freaking
I wasn't
better.
supposed to say anything, but sorry, Lizzy. But I mean, here's the guy. I mean, he didn't do nothing. I mean, this came out and the DVD came out not too long after it. Not the exact same time like they do nowadays. But
It was VHS, wasn't it?
oh yeah, back then. DVD. What was that?
Yeah, that was a segment of Star Trek.
When this came out, CDs were just
What year?
86,
Yeah.
early 86.
VHS.
So VHS for
Yeah, because
video,
'86 was the year CDs came out.
They
Yeah.
just started coming out. Not for everybody. 'cause
Yeah.
I remember when that came out, you're like, whoa.
Well, that was the year I bought my first CD, so that was right around.
What was it?
David
David
Roth.
Roth, Eat 'em and Smile.
Mine was Somewhere in Time, and I bought Hemispheres both the same day.
House of
At
Lords.
Papermount Books, but
And Turbo was my second CD I ever bought. After that, I
I look at this. House of Lords.
oh, go ahead. We're sorry. We took you off your tape.
But Lizzy Borden, I mean, here's a guy that's very influenced by Alice Cooper, Kiss, and came out in L.A. at the time. And before, when he did this, there was only 2 albums out, and he put a live album right out, and everybody's like, "Wow, how do you do that?" I played at the Country Club back in December of 1985. It came out in April of the following year. But I mean, just classic songs on there. I mean, from the first 2 albums and something. Warfare. To me, I mean, that's the
I love Warfare.
sheer aggression of that song just kicks ass. I mean, there's not a. I mean, it comes out to me. Flesh Eater. That's an irk. Flesh Eater. He wants to. I mean, you can't say that nowadays.
Ladies and gentlemen, BC performs Murderous Metal Roadshow.
Murderous Metal Roadshow. No Time to Lose. Rod of Iron. Probably the
Please
most.
don't do Rod of Iron.
What, you want to see the
Darn kids.
the most, not the most, but one of the 2 most commercialized things on here would be Save Me, and I think American Metal. Other than that, it's.
I'd say Live and Let Die gets into that. Lizzy Borden can't even save that song, I don't think.
I have to agree. I was going to say, as I went down here, like Godiva, Psychopath, Love You to Pieces, Live and Let Die. I don't like the
McCartney?
song. Yeah. I don't like the song, and even the great Lizzy Borden, to me, can't even save that song. And that was on here, blah.
You know, you used to say Live and Let Live. You know you did. You know you did.
You know you did.
No, you did.
At least they did that then, and then they came back with Kiss of Dead, Red
In that
Rum,
world in which you live in.
American Metal. Give them the axe and that little final thing. But I mean, Live and Let Die to me, that is the.
It's BC's Lizzy Borden Piss song.
It's definitely, if you was to do that, I would have to be like, oh my god, it's like the Beth and whatever song of your favorite bands are that you could do without. It's not even a Lizzy Borden song, but I don't know why they did that.
To piss you off.
I guess, but I mean, back in that was the mid '80s. So what are you gonna do?
I really enjoyed listening to this one. I hadn't listened to Lizzy Borden in a long time, and I threw this on, and it's like, yep, good choice, a good live album, solid. It just gets you. It's not a big venue that they're playing, but it gets you hooked in. Great vocals, great everything. Just a fun band.
The band at that time, I think, was. I mean, Alex Nilsson is unfortunately dead now,
Yeah.
so you won't get him back. But
Yeah, this is another band that I was on board from the get-go. I had the original EP that had Give 'Em the Axe on there. Just a phenomenal band, and Lizzy Borden.
There, you said it all.
Yeah, but there's you could feel the energy on this album. Like BC said, songs like Warfare, like Psychopath is so creepy. Even live with the bass and the feedback guitar coming in is just like insanely crazy. Red Rum is great. The kind of gang vocals on that, the back and forth on that is just great. And I've always loved Lizzy Borden. I think they're a great band. And we're going to, in a couple weeks, we're going to review the new Lizzy Borden album, actually. I don't think I told you guys that, but actually, BC's got his
Gotta love the shirt.
his new Lizzy Borden shirt on. I have actually 2 of them at home because I fucked up ordering shit.
My midnight things.
But
It's very nice. I love the graphics on that.
But very great band. I'm glad you picked this, and I just love this album. I think it's great. It's one you could, if you know you're kind of like having a shit, throw this on. It's just the energy on this album is just palpable.
And better yet, watch the video of it.
Yeah.
You get the visual at the same time, which makes it a little bit. I mean, they don't do nothing, I don't think.
Inappropriate?
No, not. They beat up Santa.
Well, so did the Philadelphia Eagles fans.
Some of the shit that Santa Claus brought me over the years, I'd beat him up too.
Don't beat them up too.
But you know what? In this economy, I want coal.
Watch it back, and it was back in the 80s. And
Yeah, it's an album that transports you. Another one that puts you right in the front row. There's that, like you said, there's that energy that you feel when you listen to this album. You can't help but be enraptured by it, dude. It's a classic, feel-good live album. There's not much more I could say that everybody else hasn't said yet.
And Joey Scott, I just found us out doing this for this episode, was playing with a injured arm.
Wow.
Can't tell.
You cannot tell.
I did not know that until doing a little.
Much like you can't tell that Tony Iommi doesn't have his fingertips.
Good pick.
Just like you can't tell Ozzy doesn't have his brain cells.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you can tell.
All right, good pick, BC.
All right, I'm going with Whitesnake, Live in the Heart of the City. There are several versions of this album, but the American version's a one vinyl set, so that makes it okay. However, for you kids out there, get the English version because it has Ain't Gonna Cry No More on it, which it is. I don't know why they left it off the U.S.
And Mistreated.
Well, that's
like a bonus track, though, right?
That on the vinyl that I have, Mistreated is from a '78 show. On the original UK album came out with the Hammersmith recorded on the 23rd and 24th of '80, and then the bonus on the UK was Hammersmith November 24th of '78, which has Mistreated on it. They did do it in '80 because I have the second night straight off the board, and some of the songs that they did was Mistreated, Soldier of Fortune, Nighthawk, Belgian Tom, Hat Trick. They're on there, but they weren't on the live album that we know. But it's a great vibe. It's before they went with the change of sound to break America. Unfortunately, I wish they stayed with this sound, this band. I almost had a chance to see them. They were on the schedule to be with Priest and Maiden in '81 down at the fairgrounds. However, the record company pulled their support and we got the Joe Perry Project instead, minus Ralph Mormon. But anyhow, this is a great killer live album. I just listened to it today, and it holds up really, really, really good.
Yeah, I was glad Jim picked this one. It was another one I was kind of hoping he would pick. And I remember, I want to say it was Ed Jankowskis. We talked about him with the Deep Purple episode, him and Chris. And I think this was one of the albums that he turned me on to. And I remember listening to this. The band is phenomenal. Neil Murray on bass.
Ian Pace,
Mickey
on
Moody,
drums,
Mickey Moody, Bernie Marsden,
John Lord.
John Lord. You could just feel the deep purpleness of this album. The keyboards are like, you're like, boom, like, holy shit, that's signature John Lord.
Yep,
just a
the
great,
B3.
and David Coverdale's vocals are so great. And you know what? I totally forgot about this album, you guys. That even back then, in 1980, when this was recorded, you still got the "Here's a song for ya." Here's a song for you. You got it back then. I was like, holy shit! It was even way back then. He was born. I was like, fuck yeah.
Here's a baby for you.
But just I think it's a great. I absolutely love "Walking in the Shadow of the Blues."
Yep.
I think that's just a phenomenal song, and it's a great album. That took me back to the first time that I heard that, and I was like, wow,
I was
so cool.
disappointed when they had to pull out of that tour. It was like, because they're on the Come and Get It tour also, and it's just, and I did get to see Coverdale twice since then, but that was when he went all America.
Let me tell you, Whitesnake is a band that I got burnt out on pretty quickly.
I can understand why.
You hear Here I Go Again so many fucking times that you just don't want to hear anything else from the band. But I have to say, listening to this album makes me want to go back and listen to Whitesnake a little more deeply.
Earlier.
In my opinion, go get Ready and Willing and go get Come and Get It. They are great albums. Saints and Sinners, not too bad. Slide It In was probably the last good album they did. 1987 is a piece of shit, and Slip of the Tongue's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But then again, what do I know?
Yeah, like, I really like this early Whitesnake before, like, the commercial.
The whole, we don't want to use the term.
I really liked this album. It was rocking. It sounded great, and like you said, David Coverdale doing "Here's a Song." Here's a song for you. I'm just like, wow, that's crazy that actually happens, because you just build it up in your mind as this mythic thing that think somebody, but like, nope, he doesn't.
He doesn't.
So thanks, Jim, for having this be one of the albums. I might go back and listen to Whitesnake.
You know what? I'll listen to Faster Pussycat.
There you go.
Listen to Whitesnake, and we'll compare notes.
There we go.
I gotta agree with everybody here. I mean, my first Whitesnake was Slide It In.
Good album.
And then this was my second. I remember, we know what record store I was in at the time, and I picked this up, and I was like, oh, live. Of course, back then, you weren't exposed to live music like you are nowadays. So I said, I'll pick it up, Walking in the Shadows of Blues. And believe it or not, one of my favorite is Ain't No Lovin'.
But have you heard the live version, like I said, of Ain't Gonna Cry No More?
No,
Search
I
it,
checked it out.
get it. I mean, it just gives me goosebumps, and it's one of those. It's just, it's a great breakup song, and it's just very. I don't know why they didn't put it on the American. Get me Warner Brothers on the phone right now. We gotta find out what the hell.
They don't want to talk to anybody.
Scumbags.
But like I said, and then that was the second Whitesnake I ever bought, and then listened to it to refresh myself for this episode, and I never picked up on it back then.
No, I know, because you hear it so much now.
I was like dying laughing. I'm like, oh shit, he did it back
There it is.
Yep.
And let me be honest, hearing, like, the first time I kind of heard of Whitesnake besides Here I Go Again.
Have you heard the original version?
No, I have not.
You get because the original version is on Saints and Sinners, completely different mix, completely different sound. You go, huh? And maybe
Crying in the Rain also.
Yes, Crying in the Rain also. It's the same thing. That it was another.
Yeah, Crying in the Rain is so bluesy.
Yeah, because then he went, like I said, with a whole different sound, but it made him millions. I just didn't like it.
Yeah. But, like, the first time, besides those songs that I heard the name Whitesnake, was in the Bowling for Soup song, 1985, where it's like, she's going to be an actress, she's going to be a star, she's going to shake her ass on the hood of Whitesnake's car. So, like, my immediate mind was, like, joke. Like, it just jumped to that because, like, you hear it in this song that's, like, talking about this lady that, like, is behind
Well, she's
up
a nut job
times.
anyhow. But that was where I lost it for Whitesnake, when they started doing that whole, and it was all calculated. It worked. It got them the millions. But then, even from what I understand, Coverdale looked at it and said, "What the hell am I doing? This is not me. Shut it down."
I like those albums.
Oh, I don't get me wrong. I don't.
You can see the calculatedness
Yes.
of them.
Yes, I know
Definitely.
where Jim's coming from.
Yeah.
I mean, I like their albums too.
Because the '87 album, John Sykes played all the guitar on it.
He did. It was him and Ansley Dunbar.
Yep,
And
that's
it
a
just
fucking great album.
It's
I
just-
think that it's such a
That was what, 87?
87.
That's why it's called
And then,
1987.
and then Slip of the Tongue was out after that.
Yeah, and then that was
Slip of the Tongue was like more polished. Like Slide It In, I think was like you
Slide
said,
It In was like the
last-
perfect medium
Yes.
between the old and the new. It was like the perfect bridge.
that's such a good album too.
that's
All right, Awesome pick. I'm so glad you picked that one, because we got to hear early version of "Here's a Song for Ya." Here's a song for ya. Okay, now here my final pick. I think it was Dylan was like, "You really picked this?" I've ragged on this guy since maybe not day one of this podcast, but maybe day 4 or 5. And it's still one of the worst concerts I ever went to. And
Speaking of which, did you see they're doing another version of that?
yeah, I did see that.
Down
I
at
did
the
see that.
Sands.
I did see that. I'm picking the 1989 release of Yngwie Malmsteen, Trial by Fire, live in Leningrad.
Did he drop the J for that one? Because it used to be Yngwie J. Malmsteen. It's like, there's so many Yngwie Malmsteens.
Let's just add another letter.
No, there's no J on this one. No J on this one. But just a great album. It was on the Odyssey tour. Jolyn Turner was the singer in the band at the time. Just a phenomenal. I picked it up, and I was all in for Yngwie. I had seen him live on the Trilogy tour. I thought it was great.
He was a rising force.
Yeah. And when I heard Jolyn Turner was singing for him then, I was like, oh, cool. It's definitely going to be cool. It'll give a little more,
commercial
soulfulness to it, maybe. But the songs on Odyssey were really good. And I thought this live album was really cool. Starts out with Liar, which is a really strong Queen in Love. Deja Vu, Far Beyond the Sun, Heaven Tonight, Dreamin', Tell Me, You Don't Remember, I'll Never Forget, and then we can do a guitar solo. But it's not just shredding alone. It's from the Trilogy Suite, Crystal Ball, Black Star, and then he ends it up with Spanish Castle Magic from Hendrix, which I could take leave or take that. But I think it's just great. I'm not extremely crazy about the production on this album, but I think it's a solid album, and I like it. I think it's a good album. And on Heaven Tonight, I didn't realize that Tom Peterson is a co-writer on that from Cheap Trick.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was just looking that up today.
The most underrated member of Cheap Trick.
Yeah. But I think it's a good, solid album, and there's not that total fucking crazy shredding that he does now.
A friend of mine looked at the sheet
constantly.
music. It looked like a whole bunch of flies just died on the page.
Yeah, it's just insane. And anymore, he does the singing, which if you
Was he out of his mind?
He's a terrible singer. I think he's fucking a terrible singer.
He's not good.
So he's not going to be a guest on next week's show.
He is not. He is not. And like I said, it was like one of the worst concerts I ever saw. That I ever went to, and this album is part of the reason that I thought that concert sucked so bad.
The potential is there.
The potential's there, and I saw him live at the same show that you did open up for Triumph up in Binghamton.
I saw him
correct?
there. I saw him open up for AC/DC, and I saw him with Alcatraz.
But there was such. It wasn't. I don't think his head was as big then. That it was just all me. It was more of a band kind of thing.
Yes,
because
I
if you
agree.
watch, there's a video that came out for this also, and it shows the band hanging out and touring in Russia and everything. And it seemed like more of a band situation, but now it seems like it's just him
Got a bunch of side
and
men.
the guys that are there with him, pretty much. So have at it, Dylan.
Yeah, like you, I was pretty done with Yngwie. I mean, like, he narrates his own audiobook, and
No, he doesn't.
he doesn't. I thought he.
No,
did.
he doesn't.
Okay.
He may do the intro, but he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
Okay, 'cause I
listened to it.
Does he do it
doesn't.
from the swimming pool?
But like, this is a good album because there's actually songs on there, and Jolyn Turner sounds great,
Jolyn Turner takes credit for that.
and like it's like I do like the guitar solo in there because it has.
It is. They're good. It's fitting for the album. It's
Yeah.
not just total shredding through the whole friggin' thing.
And I like the cover of Spanish Castle Magic. That's
It's
a
okay.
good
I'm just
Hendrix song.
not a big Hendrix fan.
But like, Liar's a great start to the album. I think Heaven Tonight gives a nice hit to
Even with the patched
to
in
the song.
vocals at the beginning?
Yeah, it's a little awkward, but the rest of the song I think makes up for it. But it's a good sounding album. It's a solid, a tight 10 song album. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It gives you the stuff that you want to hear, and it doesn't make you sit for 2 hours listening to Yngwie just shred his
8
guitar.
million notes.
And then the other half listening to his bass player riff while he changes out his guitar for the umpteenth time. Let's hear for the maestro, DC.
Yes, when I saw this listed, my initial thing was, oh God, Yngwie.
I gotta listen to this.
Because I've been scarred ever since that show. But then
You still in therapy?
I overlooked it. Therapy ain't working. I overlooked it and went back to, take me back into that day, or back in the day when this first came out and you're like picking it up. And like you said, it's a good album. Liar starts off, Queen in Love, Deja Vu, Heaven Tonight, You Don't Remember.
I'll never forget.
And that was the song that started me off on the back in the day. And like you said, it's good. Jolene Turner. It's not constant soloing by Mr. Yngwie himself.
The album has some meat to it.
Yes, it's overall a good balance.
You're right, because Jolene Turner, he knows how to put a song together, and he's the consummate professional, and he knows how to rein him in. And like I said, I saw him open for Triumph, and I saw him the year before that opening for AC/DC when it was mostly an instrumental set. And then I remember him playing Rocky Glen opening for Ted Nugent with Alcatraz, and it was so friggin' loud you couldn't hear anything. But great player, and then when he got Jolene Turner, it's like, okay, it's going to take off. He's going to have this is only lasted one album, Clash of the Eagles.
Mm-hmm. And he actually, Yngwie actually, in his biography, actually rags on Jolene Turner. He thought he was too, ooh, baby kind of stuff.
That's Jolene Turner.
He's a guy. You hire him. You know what you're getting.
That's the same thing Blackmore used to say, but
all his Rainbow stuff was already here and gone, and he had done stuff with Glenn Hughes before that. So like he knew what he was getting, but like he really kind of trashes him in his book, which I think is unfair, because I think the Odyssey album is probably his most listenable album.
Very accessible album. I like it a lot.
I mean, I like Trilogy better, but like fan accessible wise, I think it is the most.
What about Marching Out?
Listener friendly album. I think that's more of a metal album.
Yeah,
that's got some great shit. Like those first 4 Yngwie albums, and I'm not really in tune too much with the Alcatraz stuff. I never really kind of got in. I'm not a big Graham Bonnet guy. Mm-hmm. I'll group the Steeler album in with them.
Sure.
That is a freaking great album. That's one I will throw on. Dylan, you've heard me playing that.
When he was with Alcatraz, it was like, okay, you're not playing metal, you're not playing classical, you're playing rock and roll. And he's not a rock and roll guy.
No, he's definitely a metal guy. All right. Very cool. I went through actually my albums, like the newest one was 1995. But
I don't think I stepped out of 81 for Live in the Heart of the City. Everything else was early.
Yeah, I want to say maybe the Kiss Unplugged.
No, it was 2000. It was Triple C Cat.
Well, you got to remember too, the 70s was the live album era.
Yeah,
you broke a band with a live album. Bob Seger, Live Bullet, Frampton Comes Alive,
Yes,
Cheap Trick Live at Budokan. All those albums were. I'm guessing cheap to make. You pull up the recording studio, the mobile, you record it, bang, here's your album, mix it straight to the radio.
Very cool. We'll do our little round the table wrap up. We'll just go ahead, Dylan. We'll go this way and we'll end up with me.
Live albums are a cool way to get into a band, I think. They show you the songs that people think are popular or the band thinks are popular. Sometimes they change it around in a really cool way. They add something different for the audience, and it also gives you a sense of who the band is personality-wise sometimes too. Because like Faster Pussycat, you could tell what kind of band they are with what Tammy Down is saying in between the songs or during the songs, changing the lyrics to a song. Or like Dream Theater, where you don't hear James LaBrie talking too much to the audience, but on occasion he'll be like, "Let me hear you, London," So it's cool to, or David Coverdale, I mean.
Here's a song for ya!
You get who David Coverdale is right away.
Yes.
So it's cool to see the personalities come out a little more in the live album than sometimes they do in the studio album, where it's a little more, sterilized and restrained. So it's awesome to see a band on in its true, honest form, and live albums help do that. Plus, single live albums take a lot less time to listen to than double live albums.
What about triple live albums?
Those are a slog sometimes.
Those are marathons. I mean, this episode with the live albums, I mean, to me personally, back in the day, that was your way of hearing a band live. Because you did get to concerts like you could nowadays more. And there wasn't the internet, like you can punch in something and see somebody live.
Hell of a lot cheaper.
Yeah. But I mean, it was just back then it was just such a different feel. Live albums are, you're like, ooh, this is live, and like nowadays
There's
it's
a
like,
Memorex.
yeah, like nowadays they come out, you can get online and punch up anything, and there they are live.
Yeah.
And a live album also is like a pseudo greatest hits package. You get to hear the best of the band, what they feel they represent at that time. It really is a moment in time captured. And I always lean toward listening to a live album. Yes, I have a ton of studio albums, but 9 times out of 10 you'll see a live album on the turntable. And then, of course, like I said, you know me with the bootlegs and strange recording, audience recorded of this and stuff like that. For something, I am just drawn to a live album more than a studio album.
I can't agree more.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed live stuff, and I remember just as a kid, they have a yearly festival here in town. It's called Pioneer Nights, and I remember that going back to when I was a younger kid, and they used to have bands there, and I could not tell you what band it was. I couldn't tell you. I could tell you where the stage was in town, but I remember this band. I just was mesmerized watching this band. Actually, I was listening to music at the time. I was listening to Kiss, and it was after I had listened to like Frampton and Styx, and I remember seeing this band, and I was just mesmerized. Oh my God, these guys are actually playing music that I listen to, like stuff that I like. And there was a lot of shit that I never even knew what the hell it was. And it was the first time that I ever heard the song Rock and Roll Fantasy from Bad Company. And I'm like, wow, and that song just stuck in my head. And every time that I hear that song, it takes me right to that. And I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know who sang it. And I just remember the vocals in it and Rock and Roll Fantasy, and it just clicked with me, like, wow, like this is just kind of seems like a fantasy to me that I'm actually watching a band play music that I like. I'm not, because when I was a kid, my grandparents used to watch us on Saturday nights, and what were we watching? Of course, we were watching fucking Lawrence Welk.
Easy on the bubble machine.
And the bubble machine going, and that I hated that show.
1, 2, 3.
Fucking hated that show. But then Hee Haw came on after that. I liked that show.
Oh, you just like the chicks in the corn.
Oh, absolutely. But like, if you go back and look at some of that stuff, like Roy Clark on there and Buck Owens playing there, they played some good stuff. And I actually listened to a Roy Clark live album maybe about a year ago, and I was like, this is fucking cool shit. But like, I never got to see a band play music live. I don't know how I got off on that tangent. Anyway, but
it happens.
It just takes me back, and I think that's what I really like the most about live music. Kiss Alive, Kiss Alive 2, Frampton Comes Alive, and the Elvis Live via satellite from Hawaii was just, they were my 4 first live albums.
I love the imperfections in it. The bum notes, the mic squeals.
Yeah.
It's just, that's what makes it.
It's real. It's the music that you hear on that vinyl, and you can actually you listen to an album, and you're like, okay, these songs are good, but then when you hear it live, you're like, I don't picture a band playing the song, listen to a studio album.
And also when you listen to it live, there might be something missing. Like, okay, it's just a 3-piece band, guitar, bass, drums. And when he's taking a solo, there's no rhythm track behind it. It's just the bass player grinding out, gotta fill it. Yeah. And it just adds an element of something to it. It's like, you like the rawness, the appeal. It takes it down to just the song.
Absolutely, but I really think it's a visual thing too. I can always just, on a live album, you could see them playing the songs. I don't picture them sitting in the studio playing these songs. But when you hear a live album, you're like, it's the songs on the vinyl album just jumping out in front of you visually, I think.
Yeah.
So
what was that live band that you saw?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
No.
But I know that I remember them doing Rock and Roll Fantasy, and I didn't even know what that was, or I'd never even heard of Bad Company before. But I remember they did Cold Gin from Kiss.
Really?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, holy crap. I mean, I wasn't cursing, had a potty mouth like I have now. But I was like, wow, just like...
Well, you want to say it now?
Huh?
You want to say it now? Holy fuck.
Holy fuck.
There you go.
But I just remember going home that night, and I watched them for I was younger, so I wasn't allowed to be out till like midnight when they used to be able to play that long out in public at an outdoor thing at a festival in a town. But I remember like looking and I'm like, oh man, I got to go home. But I watched as much as I could. And I was with some friends, some buddies and stuff like that. And like, come on, let's go. I'm like, I'm going to stay here and watch the band. I don't do what you guys want to do. I'm just staying here. And I was just like, fucking mesmerized.
I remember the same thing. I grew up in Troop, which is where I grew up in Troop is like literally a stone's throw from Penn State Worthington campus. And they used to have bands over there. And one of the first bands I saw when I was this high was Elf. With Dio, I'm told. I remember seeing all these bands, and one guy said, years later, a guy said, yeah, Elf was one of those bands that day. They used to always go up there for, they always had dances in the gym, and we'd dances in the gym in the Troop High School, and always going to them. Nowadays, it's a friggin' DJ. I mean, what the hell is that? I mean, nothing like a live band, a garage band that's
even if you suck.
Yeah, you suck. You're making music.
You have the ball. I give credit to anybody, even if you suck, to have the balls
to get up there
play
and
music in front of fucking people.
I agree. I remember some of the first bands I was in doing backyard parties or just jamming in a garage, trying to write a tune. Those are great memories.
It's just fun.
I was just gonna say, like, even like most recently, you were like, I'm gonna stay and watch this band. When we were at the races, because a cover band.
I'm glad you brought that up. And I met the guys from this band called Slick 51. They played at the Langley Speedway that we went to the races down in Virginia last week, and I talked to the guys in the band, and like everyone's like, oh, we're getting ready to watch the races. I'm like, I want to watch the fucking band. So everyone's up in the stands. So we had seats at the top row. So I stood up on the thing and I watched over from the top. It was cool. The drummer, he played an electronic drum set, but he had purple pasty cymbals.
Yeah,
they were cool. But when Dylan, I'm so glad you brought that up. We're walking in and I hear Purple Rain. And I'm like, that sounds great. At first I thought it was like them just playing music, like over the PA. Yeah. And I'm like, no, that's live. And then we walked in and the guy just tore the fucking solo up. I'm like, holy shit. And they just were a great classic rock band. I thought they were great. I'm glad you brought that up.
I just remember you talking about wanting to see a band. I remember in another life when my kids were tiny, and my youngest I had a holder in my arms. We were down at Knoebels and there was a band there playing, and it was your standard party type band, everybody matching suits, except for the drummer. I remember watching him play and going, I got to go talk to him. And I went over and I looked at him and I said, I got 2 words for you. Keith Moon? He says, hell yeah. And it was just awesome. There's nothing like a live band.
I think I saw videos of that drummer because they were showing like it was at an amusement park, and they were like, this drummer is in the wrong gig, and he's just like wailing
but he's
the
there.
fuck out of these drums.
This drummer, it wasn't like he was making an ass of him.
No,
he had the chops. Right? He was in the pocket.
Oh,
it was. I walked over and like I said, Keith Moon. He said, hell yeah,
Moon the Loon.
All right, cool. I'm glad you brought that up, Dylan. All right, you guys, what's your favorite single album, live album out there? Let us know. Throw some ones at us. We'll definitely
make sure you do your research like we had to do, because I literally had to cut out like 12 albums.
Yeah. Dylan had to struggle a little bit this week. And
you should have just avoided a Faster Pussycat like I did.
I had to cut that out.
See.
Can't take me anywhere.
I had to cut a bunch out because they're not.
I know, but it was a little challenging at the beginning to actually break it down and pick them. Yeah. So let us know, you guys. What do you guys think?
Sit down and try and pick 3 albums.
I'll tell you what. If you donate to the Rockin' Pod Expo and you pick that, we could do this episode with you. So let us know. Check out live music. Check out the bands we talked about, the albums we talked about. If it's something you're unfamiliar with, give it a shot. Listen to it. If you like it, let us know. If you don't like it, let us know.
And make sure you vote for us.
Amen.
Vote for us. Absolutely. We will be posting it regularly on our page. There will be a link on the podcast. There will be a link on our Facebook. And you guys, thanks for tuning in. If it's your first time for listening to us, thank you. If you've been a faithful listener, we thank you also. Check us out wherever you can find a podcast. We will be there. And we will catch you next time. And there will be a next time.